And call this meeting to order. Are we recording this, Perry? Thank you very much. Ms. Perry, will you please call the roll?
And Mayor Polly Bear is absent. Vice Mayor Stephanie Dalton.
Here.
Commissioner Jamie Fairbanks Harvey.
Here.
Commissioner Keith Phillips.
Here.
Commissioner Hayes Wilkerson.
Here I am.
All right. For today's invocation, please join me in a moment of silence to reverently collect our thoughts, pray, and ready ourselves for this meeting and the duties to which we have been called. Thank you.
In Jesus' name.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Graham, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Boy, that's helpful. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. First, we have consideration of the minutes for approval or correction. For the May 16th, 2023 work session minutes, does anyone have any corrections? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as written?
I'll approve.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. And all in favor? Aye. Thank you. And now for the May 16th, 2023 regular session minutes, does anyone have any corrections? Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as written?
I'll move.
And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you for both of those approvals. And first, I will be starting with the mayor's report. As you may have noticed, Mayor Berry is not with us this evening. She and I have attended every single meeting since we were elected 2.5 years ago. And she regrets that she cannot be with us tonight, though she is watching virtually. As this is her first absence, this is also the first meeting I've had to chair. So I ask for your patience as we work through this together. On behalf of the mayor, I was asked to share that she had to be admitted to the hospital over the weekend due to pregnancy complications. She and the baby are healthy and well as of now, but she will not be able to leave the hospital until the baby is born. If you feel so inclined, please send positive thoughts and prayers for a healthy and safe delivery for Holly and her family. And now for my vice mayor's report. Happy Pride Month. We love and value all of our wonderful LGBTQIA+ neighbors here in Red Bank this month and always. Our next Red Bank Lions Club meeting is this Thursday, June the 8th at 6:30 p.m. I want to extend an extra special thank you to everyone on our Public Works team, and especially to our brush truck drivers, John Broyles and JB Allen, who are always very busy during the spring season. They work diligently day in and day out and don't often get recognition for the difficult, hot, and tiresome work they do every single day for our city, so thank you. Local business Balico is having a special 40% off sale tomorrow, June 7th, both in-store and online on all of their original jewelry line. So be sure to get out and support this small business that also happens to be owned by a wonderful Red Bank neighbor. And congratulations to Rivermont Elementary School on their recent designation by the Tennessee STEM Innovation Network and the Tennessee Department of Education as an official STEM school. They put in a lot of hard work and energy to growing their school's STEM opportunities for their students, and we are so proud of them for this recognition. And now for Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey's report.
I want to thank the residents who have been communicating with me and our commissioners about the proposed budget. It's community at its best. when residents can correspond. County Health Department, it would behoove us to do that because it would give Hamilton County Health Department some input into how we can better be served in our health. Last Thursday, June 1st, from 8:40 till midnight, I experienced my first ride-along with Bruce Erlinger in the police car. I asked for it, and I was granted that wish. I will hopefully ride along from 1 to 3:30 a.m. just to see a little more action.
Are you riding in the back?
No, I was riding in front. Oh, thanks, Hayes. This gave me an expanded respect for the officers. It was Officer Lynn Durham, Tim Brown. If you don't know him, he's hilarious.
He's a treasure.
And Bruce Erlinger. We had such good conversations, and their thorough efforts every day on our behalf is impeccable, and they must be respected, even if they stop you. And I've been stopped before, so I won't go into that. I met at Lily Mays this morning from 7:30 to 8:30 for an opportunity to meet residents as they may have had questions about this issue, and there were 6. That was good. We had a good time. I plan to do this next Wednesday, June 14th, 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. Helps Lily Mays have a good breakfast. The next Listen and Learn will be held Monday, June 19th at Mr. Burrito. That will be in the evening from 6 to 7. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now we have Commissioner Phillips report.
Good evening. And there's nothing like a tax increase to fill up City Hall. I'm going to kind of break here and, instead of giving a report, I'm going to kind of give you where I stand, how I see it. Currently, we have the lowest taxes of any municipality in Hamilton County that is comparable, because they have their own fire department, they have their own police department, they have their own codes inspector, etc. All right, so this is a full service community. We're at 110. The next closest is 125, which is East Ridge. Even with the proposed tax increase, College Dale's at $1.55. I think they had their first reading last night. Stop me if I'm wrong. The City of Ridgeside is at $2.55. City of Looking Mountain is 2.02, and the City of Signal Mountain is 1.70. Now, I've ran business. I've been pretty good with money, but there's no way I can do it with 50% less income and beat my competitors. It's just not possible. So, we're a property tax town, and we have a 7% COLA going out. One of our other municipalities here has raised their COLA up to 10%. So we're again in line. And what is the Social Security going to be this year?
8.7.
Okay.
It already is this year.
All right. Public Works. They've got a lot of long-term employees. We have we have no room for sicknesses or health, right? Right. So if one of the guys is off on sanitation, we don't get brush service that day, right? So, at the current levels of staffing, the fire department can't enter a building until a help arrives. They got to have 2 in, 2 out, 1 on the scene. Am I correct? And we cannot do that at today's levels. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. We demand so much out of our staff that we think we give them chicken food and they make chicken salad. All right. We have got to give them the resources to fulfill their job. Our police chief is our IT person. And I don't think our police chief needs to be the guy underneath the desk changing out cords. So I think we've hired that position, correct? The police department is a very thin blue line, correct? And we're going to get 2 officers this year, 1 through grant funding and 1 through our general fund. You wanted more than that, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
So in other words, some of this has already been trimmed. City manager's job is to tell us what we need. and where we're at and what we have done. He's hired Ms. Sheldon that has given our communication. If you're not signed up with the newsletter, it's your own fault. This has been really good. We've done a digital transformation in the last 8 months, 10 months that has, you can still call the city hall, but you can also do your business license at 10 o'clock on a Monday. We used to have to do that between business hours. So this is not taking away anything, it's added stuff to us. This proposed budget would also balance our budget. This would be the first time in as long as I can remember that we're not budgeting into a deficit, which means that we were budgeting in the red every year to come out of that. This is, I hear a lot about balanced budgets, but this is what it takes to balance the budget. Last year, when we did budget into the negative, I heard that we were bankrupt in the city because we were spending money we didn't have. So I don't really see a lot of win there. I also know you can't cut your way to prosperity. If we're going to grow this city, if we're going to do the things that we want to do and have a plan and have us 10-minute walks apart. We're going to get our stormwater done and have a library or multimodal. We have got to put the investment in boots on the ground. And this doesn't happen overnight. As I always say, government moves slow. I think Mr. Manager said one time, it moves with intent. In other words, we got to make sure that everything is done before we start paving the road. We don't want to pave the road and then start cutting in utilities. All right. And I hope y'all would hope that you elected us to come up here and make a reasonable plan to do what we needed to do to keep this city running. We've kicked the can down the road for decades. We balanced the budget on the back for our employees that were making $11, $10 an hour when we come up here. And I don't know how they kept employees because I was paid $20 an hour. I couldn't get nobody to show up for the interview. So we need a place for them to work. And I don't see how we can ask our employees to live in poverty because we don't want to pay more taxes because we might live in poverty. I don't know. I've done all of my calculations on my thing. I own 3 pieces of property. 2 of them are commercial and my residential. It's going to cost me $79 a month. I don't think that's overly burdensome because when you take 55% of $1.10, there's one thing that's not like it's $10 and we're taking 50% of that. So it's a 50% raise, yeah, but if it's off $1.10. So this just puts us in line with every other municipality around here. And I don't think that we're asking too much. Yeah. We looked over the budget. There's no toys in it. We're not buying trucks and trailers and RTVs and a SWAT truck. We're buying what we do need. I don't know if you all, but go to the restrooms over here. We have cut ourselves into a bad spot because, our restrooms are 1965 in here. This is our courthouse. I'm not happy with that state. So I'm going to be supporting this. And then I want to hold the manager to account because that's where the buck stops. He needs to put a staff under him to get the job done that we're asking him to do. And I hope you can respect my decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. And now we have the report from Commissioner Wilkinson.
Good. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Start for saying Happy Pride Month. There is a Pride Ride with Sorba. Starts out of Wanderlinger Brewery, 6 p.m., June 12th. 3 ride options, and all humans are welcome. I had the pleasure of speaking at the Red Bank Signal Mountain Chamber of Commerce. I spoke with the same Sorba president, which is the Southern Off-Road Bike Association, about the economic value of trails and what they can bring to our community. And we have a lot of opportunity here in Red Bank, so it was great to get that information out into the community. And we have a lot to look forward to with the Walden Ridge Park opening up soon. I had the honor of leading a bike to work day. Special thanks to the Red Bank Fire Department for the escort out of town. I don't know whose idea that was, but It was pretty awesome. Thank you, Chief. Let's see, the Food Truck Friday is a new thing that's happening soon. So June 16th is the first one. It will be food, live music, bring your own chair. It's, at the park across from Food City. Wanted to give a few community shout outs as well to Miss Mickey and School Board Rep Ben Connor for representing our community well on NPR. They did a nice little segment. Also to John Broyles for representing our Public Works Department well and on a challenging social media thread. So, big props to you guys. Thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner. And next we have the city manager's report. Mr. Brandon.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Commissioners. Staff have worked hard to develop the proposed budget, and we are prepared for the public hearing and the first reading this evening. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Brandon. We will be moving on to the first item on the agenda, which is the public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is to receive citizen input regarding the proposed fiscal year 2024 operating budget. Mr. Brandon, would you like to read the commenting guidelines ahead of?
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Speakers are limited to 3 minutes or less, and the city recorder will operate the timer visible on the dais. Please respect her direction and conclude any comments if time expires. Please address comments to the board as a whole and not to a particular commissioner, the city staff, or the audience. At this time, citizens are invited to the podium to comment. Please begin by stating your name and address.
I'm Todd Oliver. I live on Dayton Boulevard, 4421 Dayton Boulevard. Boulevard. And so basically, after finding out about the tax, proposed 54% increase, I just did a little research. And I went to, first of all, the surrounding areas. In Saudi Daisy, Commissioner Shipley quoted, "It is not the time for a tax increase, and that working together may result in a way to raise pay without raising property taxes." Chattanooga, no tax increase, fiscally sound, putting tax dollars to work for one Chattanooga. Signal Mountain approves with no tax hike on first reading. City Manager Elaine Grinnell said various departmental heads did a phenomenal job and found a lot of savings while keeping standards where they have been. Eastridge, adding 6 firefighters, training officer, park director, but not raising taxes. So I know I've heard a lot that we are not in line, and we are. I agree we're the lowest, but we are in line with some of the other cities, or close to it, where we will jump at 54%. We will definitely jump a few of those. So although I agree with the lowest, I think there is, we don't want to jump 54% one year. The other thing is the narrative is Red Bank is losing employees to other cities because we don't pay enough. And I'm going to say it right now. I looked at these wages and fire people and the police. You guys don't make enough money. That's a national problem that needs to be taken care of. Unfortunately, cities can't do it, but we need to definitely address that. But I did do research, and we are the second highest behind Chattanooga. I mean, all the other cities, when you look at Indeed, I used Indeed, average pay, they're pretty good. They have a lot of stuff going on. And guess what? We're the second highest. And I'm looking at places that are close to us. Okay, so I'm talking Chattanooga, we're second to Chattanooga. That seems right. Signal Mountain, East Ridge, St. Elmo, Hickson, and Red Bank, we're number 2. Okay, so although you're not paid enough, Red Bank is paying fair wages. Not fair, but fair for what it is. I also then went and did look up how this impacts us, because I think I want people to know how this is going to impact you. And so I used some Zillows and Redfins and those, and basically it's between 275 and 325. So I'm going 300,000 is the average house in Red Bank. And so what that's going to be is if right now, with a 110, you'd be paying about 825 a year. So if that goes up to 169, it's going to be about $1,267.50. That's a $442.50 increase that people are going to have to take. Okay. The other problem with this is it doesn't go away next year. It doesn't go away in 10 years. It doesn't ever go away unless the city decides to lower the taxes. So this is something you're going to be with forever and ever. And the other thing that I want to say is it also is impacted by the value of your house. Well, guess what? The value of our houses are going up every year. My house has gone up 32% in the last 3 years. So just going on that, I'll just finish. If that's the case, a $300,000 house would go up about $125 every year if that continued.
Thank you, Mr. Oliver.
Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
I'm gonna let you know if I can see. Come on.
My name is Charlotte Damewood. I live at 4220 Oakland Terrace, directly behind Doggy Daycare off of West Meadowbrook. My issue is with the Public Works Department. I have on my phone a message from the mayor. There's been 3 work orders turned in for brush, including the one the mayor turned in. And the brush I've called the police department several times because they make black marks all over the road. They loud mufflers, they got their cars jacked up. We live beside the apartments. We had to put a fence up to keep the garbage that they're throwing on Red Bank's property. There's a drainage ditch. I've asked the mayor to come and to my house personally and look at this. We put a fence up on our property because that garbage, when it rains, washes up in our yard. I have photos on my phone. I'll be glad to hang around and show anybody and everybody.
Can I ask, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Are these complaints about the budget numbers? Because that's what this public hearing is for. If this is
Well,
about general public works
We're
issues-
wanting to give people raises
Okay,
when they're not doing the job that they were hired to do to begin with.
okay, I see. Thank you.
I mean, I'm sorry it looks that way, but no, I'm against the property tax because we have people that live in Red Bank that the brush has been on the street for 2 or 3 months now. And I realize you only got 1 truck and all of the other stuff. And also we live at the dead end and the neighbors across the street, I've called about the noise. I've called about the speeding. They go to the end of the dead end and take off in these big trucks, go down over West Meadowbrook in the middle of the street. And some child in those apartments is going to get killed. Red Bank will come up. They go to the right at the stop sign. They never go to the left. I've asked them to come sit in my driveway and hear what I hear all day long. They get out in the road, work on their vehicles. Red Bank said that's okay for them to do. I spoke to a Red Bank Police Department about it, and he said that you could park all over the street. They do park on the street. 2 cars cannot pass down my street. And I would invite any one of y'all, I'll fix you dinner, lunch, whatever, to come and listen. We have a screened in porch that we have not been able to use for 2 years because this guy and all of his redneck buddies work on their vehicles 24/7.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I'm Lawrence Miller. I live at 130 P Street, and I emailed the commissioners yesterday to express my support for the budget. And I want to really emphasize this is a budget. It's not a tax increase. It's a budget. A budget is a plan for how you will spend your money for 1 year. And I think the staff and the city manager have done an excellent job. I participated in the first budget hearing. I wasn't able to be at the second, but I watched it. This is something that's available to everybody. They can watch every one of these meetings. If you can't be there, you can see them on YouTube, and I encourage everybody to do that. But I just want you to know that I believe the budget that is presented is one that will prepare Red Bank for the future. And I think that's where the focus needs to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
My name is Richard Floyd. I live at 306 Altoona Drive in Red Bank. I've been sitting back here listening to your conversations, and I've been trying to find something good about it. The best thing I found was it's moved Red Bank to number 1 we win the prize egg for the highest tax increase, not only in the state of Tennessee, but the whole United States of America. This ain't just a 52% hike this time, but you got 10% the last time, which is 62%. And God only knows where we're going to go from here.
Right.
We have a socialist gang of 3 tonight, but usually 4, that make these decisions. I am surprised, disappointed, and mad as crap, because this is absolutely nothing but financial rape of every property tax owner in the city of Red Bank. And if you call this fun, you call this good, you need to take another look at it. And I am so surely disappointed in some of the folks on this committee. Thank you, Jamie, for your stand for us. I tell you, folks, if you think this is something, you wait 5 years from now. When we have it, you'll have everybody in Red Bank out here. So fix that young budget, they worth crap.
Thank you, Mr. Floyd. Do we have anybody who wants to step up next?
Hi, Benjamin Cordell, 506 Woodrose Lane. Good to talk to you, everyone on the panel here. Born here back in the 80s. No, just kidding. All right, here. I'm kind of looking for a little bit of common sense. And with the prior gentleman, he did mention, as far as the highest, increase at one time. At one time. That is a big pop for, residents. And I do say, people bring up fixed income folks. And if they can, afford, next year saying, oh gosh, I got to pay these property taxes, and it's 54%. Whether they're working or not, they could be retired. They could be working at Walmart, but their income is fixed also. Yes, I am for the city employees getting an inflation, the workers getting that tax, but it's hard to absorb. It really is, on the property owners. I don't know, as far as streamlining, I am not as educated in every single aspect of the spending, but there could be streamlining, I'm sure, as we all can, in our personal budgets, city budgets, and as far as our programs. As far as efficiency, that's kind of what that's what we're after. And yes, we want everybody, we don't want anyone to live in poverty, but we also don't want to take the businesses and the property owners out of the picture, because let's face it, you're going to have more residents if the taxes are lower. It's kind of like the state of Tennessee, and you see the whole nation coming into Tennessee because of, hey, the tax rate. And that's facts, and the city of Red Bank, if they raise it, higher and higher, then new businesses may suffer. And then as far as people moving in may suffer, and they may, want to go somewhere else. Last thing I want to say is, maybe we should take another couple of weeks or maybe a month, a little delay. And if there's another way without a 54% tax increase, maybe there's another way to streamline and kind of make it easier on the property owners we just look into it. And the transparency is going to be really important on this, on this part. Say, hey, we got some new ideas. We're going to kick them around. What do you guys think? So that's, I think that'd be a good idea. So appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
Hi, Jacqueline Muniz, Greenendike, 3511 Berkeley Drive. Vice Mayor, City Council members. Today, I address the proposed 54% property tax increase for city spending. While we must tackle budgetary concerns and city demands, we must also find solutions that don't overtax our citizens. Envision your loved ones, rising costs, living costs, and then suddenly confronted with this massive increase. Perhaps family trips, spending, things like that get cut back, get put on hold, okay? Or maybe imagine your elderly parent who has lived in this community for nearly 50 years, now finding themselves challenged with the financial demands of this tax increase and having to make choices between whatever, medications, food, ways of living, okay? It's essential that we find an equitable solution and prioritize the well-being of our citizens. And there are options. First, we must focus on a city budget within our citizens' means, involving expense evaluation, operation streamlining, and cost reduction. With recent increases in government employment, raises to help equalize salaries with our police and firefighters, and an 11% property tax increase recently, we need efficiency and accountability in our departments. This way, we can manage necessary city expenses while gradually raising the taxes in a more manageable manner. You consider yourselves open-minded? Are you open-minded enough to listen to the constituents here in this room today? To hear the alternative spending measures? What about a rotating schedule for purchasing items like the police car computers and the fire protective gear? Absolutely, those items are needed. Unfortunately, you inherited a budget that was kind of behind the guns, okay? But could we buy a few each year? Because every 5 years, those computers need to be replaced, and in 5 years, we're gonna face the same thing again. But how about if we get it on a schedule, on a rotation, okay? How about if we look for alternative revenue sources? Other speakers have talked tonight about bringing in other businesses, making Red Bank attractive to them. That will help lower our tax base without overburdening our citizens. We've also talked, I've heard a couple of them talking. Guys, have you heard you can't eat an elephant? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, okay? A tax is inevitable. It's how much are we tackling in 1 year? As I see it, you have 3 options. Option 1, do nothing, sit on your hands. I applaud you for not doing that. Option 2, ignore us and create more of a chasm. Option 3, listen to your people.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yep.
Amen.
Don McKenzie, 110 Brentwood Drive. I sent all the commissioners and the city manager a letter on behalf of myself and my wife, Jane West, a couple of days ago. We are both retired. We live on a fixed income. We don't like raised taxes any more than anybody else likes raising taxes. However, if I wanted minimalist taxes to pay, I would live in the unincorporated area of rural Tennessee somewhere. I didn't move to a city to have a rock bottom minimalist kind of environment in city that operates on a survivalist budget, can't afford to hire people or pay people or fix things or buy needed equipment and provide needed services and needed cultural opportunities. I moved to a city expecting to have to pay for what we get. That's life. You get what you pay for. My dad raised me telling me when I was too little to understand that you pay a little now or you pay a lot later. Well, the 4 of you and the city manager and the entire city are paying the price for decades of Red Bank under investing in our city. We paid too little up front. Now we're paying the price. If we want the kind of city that is happy to live in, that is serviced well, that is staffed well, equipped properly, provides a kind of culture and opportunity that people live in a city for the purpose of enjoying, you have to pay for that. You don't get it for free. So I support the budget and appreciate the work y'all are doing, the sacrifice y'all are making for the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amen. Great, folks.
Brandon Gutteridge, 108 Laurel Drive.
Sorry, what was your name?
Brandon Gutteridge.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Red Bank is at a crossroads with this decision for a new budget. I think an increase will allow our city to fully fund current services and give us the opportunity for more investment back into our community in the future. My wife and I are relatively new to home ownership and have a modest starter home just down the road. And we also welcome our son in September. That's back there. We both work full time, and we never look forward to additional increases to our budget. For perspective, the proposed increase to the municipal tax rate would increase our monthly bill just under $20 a month. It's $18.91 to be exact. Taxes are never fun for anyone, but to borrow a quote from President Harry S. Truman, the buck stops here. We can't kick tax increases down the road and expect our city to flourish. A sacrifice now will help pay dividends in the long run. I think about our son and wanting him to grow up in a red bank that is even better than the one we have now. I think that one of the steps towards that goal is a tax increase. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Harris, 506 Woodrose Lane. Couple of things tonight, of course, is the tax thing. And as stated, a lot of people are on, I hate this term, fixed income. Everybody has a fixed income. If you work, you get a salary. You know how much. That's fixed. So let's dispense with that. But something that you brought up, that your tax would only increase by $79. I beg to differ with that.
I've done all three of my properties, man, and it's over $500 million worth of assets, according to the county, not me. And mine's going up.
You're taking up my 3 minutes.
Okay, sorry.
Also, well, all right, we'll skip on to something else. You hired all of these additional people, and salaries alone is over $250,000. That does not include packaged benefits. You're up to probably $750,000 on that alone. And okay, the IT person, yes, I can see that. The parks and director, recreation, we had a good person handling that. And you got good service with your pickup, etc. Bought a nice big truck, a $70,000 truck back, February for that. But anyway, there's a lot of that was unnecessary at this point to add into the budget. I've not had a chance to go over the budget at this point. There's been nothing actually on the websites, or if it is, it's very, very difficult to find about this tax increase. Nobody knew about it until about 10, maybe 2 weeks ago, that this was coming up. That is not transparency with this commission. Thank you.
My name is Elodia Flynn, and I live 3511 Berkeley Drive. I have lived in the city of Red Bank for approximately 50 years. It's the first time that we encounter or witness a tax increase of this magnitude. I hope that you hear the voices of the people sitting here, because we are the city of Red Bank, and we are the people whom you work for. I hope that you hear that none of us, I think, or many of us, are not happy. A lot of us are people on a fixed income. When you raise our taxes 50% in just 1 year, what do we expect that is going to happen in the following year? I hope that you recognize that the people in Red Bank are people that are working, and a lot of the people living here are senior citizens like myself, and like the lady that just spoke, that we have a fixed income. And to be able to pay an increase of 54% is truly unmanageable to many of us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Chris Covert, 5000 Kenner Avenue. I've listened to a lot of people over the past few weeks talking about the tax increase, et cetera. And earlier it was when Chief spoke and said something about the sergeant's car or being up on bricks. Essentially, he wasn't able to replace it before it went out. The long and the short is a lot of people are not understanding is for so long we did kick the can down the road. What we're doing is level setting, and it sucks. Nobody wants to be the person that says, yes, we got to bring up the raises. Pete spoke very eloquently about it. Nobody wants to do this. It's an unfortunate side effect of what's happened over the past couple decades, from my understanding. I own a business in Red Bank. I own, am I going to be raising my family here? I know this sucks. But at the end of the day, it's the only way we can get to where we need to be so we can move forward. And I do believe that you and your team have put the time and consideration into it. And in my personal business, I hire engineers to handle very complex problems that I don't even understand, but I don't hire an engineer to tell them how to do their job. I believe that you've found the people that helped you figure out how this budget needs to be created. I'm not just here showing my support for it. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Covert.
My name is Jane West. I live at 110 Brentwood. As my husband said earlier, that we choose to live in a city, and we love living here. We love being a part of the community, but we both feel that being a part of the community comes with responsibility, and part of that responsibility is making sure that the city has enough money to run and to not get in these situations where we're just digging ourselves out of holes all the time. So in short, I support the budget.
Thank you, Ms. West.
Steve Olmsted, 3316 Martin Road. I apologize for wearing my glasses. My eyes are torn up from wrapping and garbage, and my shirt because I was not planning on even speaking.
I like your shirt.
So first off, it is over or just under 90 degrees outside in the sun. We have had multiple venues that we could have had this meeting. You are well aware that this is a very important topic to the people. We cannot hear what's being said out there. It is disrespectful to the over 100 people that are standing outside that have come to listen. People on both sides of this issue have already left, so they're not going to be able to rotate in and out. Could you please apologize to people standing in the heat because this was known, and then reschedule this? Thank you.
We will have a second vote on this budget on June 20th, and there will be opportunity for comments at that time.
My name is Bill Sparks. I live at 4541 McKay Hill Road. I don't know what happened to the Sweetville town that I grew up in. It's become the most hostile, vicious, violent environment where people are afraid to speak their opinion, especially if it doesn't fit the commission's tax and spend agenda. Nothing is ever presented by you all on how to fill the empty buildings and attract businesses to come to Red Bank that will generate tax relief for our citizens. You only want to tax and spend on items that constantly have to be maintained, financed, and create no new revenue. Do you realize that we can't be taxed into prosperity? It doesn't work that way. Our little government has become too top heavy with plans to add even more supervisors with large salaries that don't match the work that is required to maintain a 1 mile wide by 6 mile long city. Talk about mismanaging our city. We had a balanced budget and a rainy day fund when you took over. Now we're having to borrow money and having to raise taxes by 1/2 to run our city, and nobody's life is any better in Red Bank. We are completely, the majority of the Red Bank Commission was funded by out-of-town money. We're completely surrounded by Chattanooga, and I wonder if the motive behind all this excessive spending is to bankrupt Red Bank so Chattanooga can take us over.
Just for the record, since we have a lull between speakers, we did actually talk about annexation by Chattanooga at our last meeting. And that actually can't be done by the Board of Commissioners. It has to be done by referendum and voted on by the voters. That's the legal requirement. So we cannot do that as a board. Thank you.
Hey there, Ian Moore, 5225 Lawan Lane. I just wanted to say, in as brief as I can, I am in support of the budget raise. I know a lot of people are upset about it, but I think that's because there's a lot of complacency for the services that the city already provides. And a lot of people don't realize how much these departments do with the little that they have. I worked out the numbers for our property. It's going up approximately $325 for the year. That works out to about $27 a month, which works out to basically the Netflix and the Disney Plus that my daughter doesn't watch every year. Okay. We can all manage our money a little bit. I understand fixed incomes with people, but I think there's a lot of exaggeration in these percentages, and a lot of people aren't actually calculating what their actual property tax increase will be as a result of this. And you need to look at what we are getting for it. In my opinion, it's a steal. We're getting additional medical screens for our firefighters. We're getting additional turnout equipment so they can properly respond to emergency incidents in the city. We're getting additional law enforcement coverage for our city. I really, really feel like a lot of people do not understand how much these guys are doing with the very little that they already have. That's it.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else who is prepared to give a comment? Thank you.
Good evening.
Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Gina Henry. My address is 4984 the Cahill Road.
Thank you.
I used to come to a lot of these meetings. Circumstances have kept me away. I own 3 properties in Red Bank. I've operated a business for over 30 years. I just feel like this is the wrong time. Timing is everything. And this is the wrong time. And I'm too large of an increment to hit so many property paying senior citizens, and many of them are on fixed incomes. They don't have Netflix. They don't have all the extras. They rarely can buy and get their groceries right now. I think with a more reasoned and gradual increase, we get a greater reception from your citizens. Said, I haven't been here a long time. I used to bring my dad. And this is really that they have petitions going. We haven't had enough time to give y'all our true opinion on a massive scale, not just the people that show up. I'm talking about the elderly that can't get out of their house. They have to have people bring them food. They don't have enough money for gas. They have to choose between generic or even day-old bread, and they have to stretch it out. I'm talking about people like my neighbor. He's a widow. He works, but he doesn't make enough. So he's always coming to me, if you got $100, my house payment, I'll give you, and he always pays me back. But he can't hardly buy food. And it's, as I said, I want Red Bank to excel and have everything that y'all need. every toy, every piece of equipment, every safety thing. But I think if you came in a smaller increment at a better time, we're at the highest rate of inflation, and these people are hurting out here. And there's a lot of them that can't get up here. I can barely do it. I had a lot of health issues these last years. And this is hard for me to get up in front of people and dispute what y'all are saying. And I applaud your speech. It was great, Pete. And I understand your reasons, but timing is everything. It's the wrong year, the wrong time. It's too much, too fast. And you can move it around slowly, more slowly. There's grants out there possibly for equipment, I don't know. I think y'all will be getting more cards and letters here in the future. Because there are people in Red Bank, even though they're old and they're tired and they don't even have computers, they don't even know how to operate them or a cell phone or a text. They are so distressed at what this is going to put on them. So my time is up. I do thank you. I thank every one of you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Abby Swartz at 4810 Stag. I just wanted to respond to some general conversation. The first thing I wrote down was tax relief for seniors and disabled. If you were at the work session or if you have the agenda in front of you, you can see that, where was it? Where am I? Oh, number 3, it says property tax relief program. So that's something that it's for the state, but you apply through the county. There's a lot more information on that that the city recorder can help with. Somebody said they looked at the value of their house on Zillow. I just want to clarify that it's not the value of your house, it's the value of your property. And if you are not doing it on the county assessor's website, then you're not doing it correctly. If we can't connect service delivery to taxes, such as brush, if we can't figure out that we can't pick up brush because we don't have the funds to fund our departments, I don't know what to tell you. The incremental tax idea, that was a great idea. If it would have been happening 10, 6, 5, any years leading up until this, there are documents that tell us what the rates have been for a long time. And if you want to find that, I found it. I know a lot of people have a lot of hard times finding these kind of things, but that's what our commissioners are here for. We can email them, we can ask. There was someone here who asked a question and a commissioner responded, and then she complained about her time being taken up. I see a lot of this on Facebook where we can't ask questions because then it creates a back and forth. So if you don't want your time taken up, you can't ask questions. There's a lot of talk about transparency and not knowing this was happening. When you go to the meetings and you watch the live streams, you know that it's happening. Transparency is streaming on YouTube. Every meeting, there's the work session streaming and the regular agenda meeting. It's all there. Terms of transparency, like all I can really say is pay attention. And lastly, I just wonder, I know this is not something that we can establish as a locality, but something that would help lower the property taxes is by taxing churches and charging stormwater fees. Those would be alternative revenue sources. But when you give all your money to the church and you don't have any money for your taxes, your service is you gotta go get that through your church. So sorry to say, but not everybody here goes to church. And thank you.
My name is David Smith. I live on 4404 McKay Hill Road. And I just want to know, are any of you people on fixed incomes? No. I wouldn't think so. Or you wouldn't be doing this to start with.
I have no.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's hard to make it. You know, we've got a bunch of Joe Bidens up here running this country. And that's the worst thing ever happened this thing. Red Bank.
Yeah.
You know, another thing.
Well, I'm looking 2 years.
Instead of leaving that park up there mowing that grass, y'all put businesses in there instead of.
Amen.
And, you know, I don't care what they think about the pine trees being there so long. That's the way it ought to be though. And another thing, you could come over McKay Hill Road, run radar and make $2,500 a day. So if you do it. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
My name is Christine Gardner, and I live on 211 Brentwood Drive.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Christine Gardner, 211 Brentwood Drive. How did I know you? From your faces on Facebook. Oh, social media, because you're so sweet. I just want to let you know that I think it's grossly unfair that the meeting that you're having today did not allow everybody in that parking lot to attend. And you were given the opportunity to go to a bigger venue where everybody would be able to listen. You don't have a TV out there. You don't have any speakers out there for anybody to hear what's going on. I'm a registered voter in this county. I am a property owner. My parents were raised here and graduated from Red Bank. I graduated. My kids graduated. I have lots of family that lives around here. We're becoming more and more renter properties. And if the renters realize that this property tax is going to make their rent go up, you would have a property filled with renters out there too, upset about this package that you have. I have never worked anywhere where I had my insurance paid 100%, my health insurance, my dental, my vision, my pension. I'm telling you what, I've had some good jobs and I've always had to pay a percentage of it. And you guys are bleeding the citizens of Red Bank dry. And all I see out here are sidewalks. And you keep tearing them up and putting more down. Why? There was nothing wrong with it to begin with. I don't understand. I disagree with your proposal. I know that you're playing word games. I saw your video. I did go on and listen, Miss Stephanie Dalton. You said there were misinformation up and down Red Bank with the signs that say we're having a 54% property tax increase. You said that is wrong. We're having a 51.8% property tax increase.
Wow.
Not 54. It's 51.8.
Ms. Gardner,
So we're
Ms.
happy.
Gardner, you need to address the commission, please. Thank you.
So 51.8 was your number. And I know I can't ask any questions, but I just want to let you know that I'm very upset. And there are many people outside that are upset. And you don't want to hear what we have to say. And if people can't have to be here at 4 o'clock to sit in this meeting, most people have to work and don't get off from work until 4 o'clock. So this was wrong. And you talk about saying, hey, this is all transparent. How transparent is it that you don't let folks listen to what you're saying? Is that transparent?
Thank you, Ms. Gardner.
Hi, I'm Bar Crane of 326 Ticton Drive, Red Bank, Tennessee. Proud to be a Red Bank alumni. Born and raised here, second, third generation. And when they talk about us low-income people, it doesn't matter about raising the I understand about the taxes and stuff, but us low-income people, I fight every day to stay in Red Bank. But if y'all raise this tax, I have to move because I can't afford any more money. I do everything I can do for Red Bank, but this has got to be wrong for me. But thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you, Laura.
I
hello. It is a privilege to be here today, speaking to you.
I need you to state your name and address for the record.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Sherry Morris, and I live at Euclid Avenue.
I'll give your full address for the city recorder.
212 East Euclid Avenue.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. And what I would like to bring to your attention is the fact that you already know Red Bank is a unique community, and the people that you're listening to that were born and raised here and graduated Red Bank High School, it's a very unique community that we're so blessed to be a part of. And I want to just make this point is that we are in this room, we are one. We're all in the boat together, all of us. We're in the same boat together. We are all trying to every day try to financially survive the high food prices at the grocery store. Every bill I pay at home it has increased. It's across the board. And it's just unreal to go to the grocery store. And I am not just speaking for myself. I'm speaking for everybody here because we all are facing the same dilemma. We are, right now, it almost, and I'm not going to say the R word, but it almost appears that we're headed into one of those again. And we need all the help we can get.
Amen.
We don't need to go there. Timing is everything. That's what I found out in life. I'm a retired RN case manager. Timing is everything, people. And this time is not the right time to be doing this to these residents of Red Bank, Tennessee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Get this close. Hi, guys. I'm Bob Ryan. My wife and I live at 3218 Reading Road. And Mr. Wilkinson, I was at the last two.
Please.
What?
Address the entire board, please.
I was at the last two. Wow, that's wow. I was at the last two vetting meetings, but everything that rose up was the pay for the new hires, and if you had the new hires already and you didn't have money to pay them, that's where this is coming from. And so my city tax increase is going to be $482. It's not just another $1.65 or whatever the number is now. That's still a lot of money for us. But the free medical, dental, disability, paid pensions, COLA raises, bonuses. I don't know if we're Maryberry. We don't have to compete with Raleigh. Please give us think about that. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
Caleb McGraw, 109 Alden Avenue. First, I would like to say that I've been to a few planning commission meetings and I've grown irritated with the way in which Red Bank's initiatives and population growth is spoken of as if they were inevitabilities, rather than something our city leadership has deliberately chosen to do. You all are choosing to allow the population in our limited size area to grow. You all are choosing to make this walking in park initiative. You all are allowing the developers to pack in these ridiculous $500,000 for 1,700 square foot homes in every possible nook and cranny of Red Bank. These things aren't just happening like the weather, they are deliberate policy goals. So please acknowledge that this is the doing of city leadership rather than acting like your hands are tied. Because it's simply just happening. As far as the 52% increase in our property taxes is concerned, I'd first like to point out that no one who ran for city commission in the last election mentioned on their campaign material that they wanted to raise property taxes 52%. Can't imagine why you wouldn't have said that. It's obviously in the interest of the existing residents, except we all know that it's not. I don't know what the proposed tax revenue would be for specifically, but obviously it would be spent. Spent on what? Well, I guess I've covered that a little bit here tonight. Well, for the city to hire new people to manage our growth, which again is your doing, or for new infrastructure to support all the new cookie cutter, single family, detached and name only homes with postage stamp yards, which again, you are encouraging and allowing the developers to build. We're being sold that a drastically increased population of Red Bank is somehow good for us, but it simply isn't. The only possible benefit is an increase in our property values, but that is completely unrealized unless we move away and offset by the fact that it costs more to move into a new house. As far as the park and trail initiative, before you try to say that a bunch of tiny parks and walking access to along Dayton Boulevard is of some great benefit, let me counter that it is not. I don't care if I'm 10 minutes away from some tiny park. The walking benefit is purely recreational, and there are plenty of places we can go to do that. There's a developer attempting to pack 30 houses down the hill and behind my neighborhood of Duncan Hills, and for some reason they are bent on forcing pedestrian access into our neighborhood, despite the fact that nearly no one in our neighborhood wants it due to the obvious security disadvantages, which we don't reckon are worth the payoff of walking down to watch cars merge onto Highway 27. So, since politics is really about using euphemisms and sob stories to manipulate support for the furtherance of self-interest, I'm going to do that now. My wife and I are having a third baby later this year, and the money that we will have to fork over to you people in property taxes is money we can't spend on diapers, wipes, clothes, formula, a new car seat, or any other baby essential. You'll be taking it out of his mouth and off of his back. Prices on everything are out of control, and since Congress and presidents of both parties will obviously continue to tax us and inflate our savings away by endlessly printing money, please don't add to the burden that well-off, out-of-touch politicians are placing on young working families by shaking us down for even more of our money just to fuel a growth agenda that we don't want and does not serve our interests. And don't think we'll see through a scheme to throw up some ridiculous number like 52%, then lower it to 20%, like you've all done us a major favor. If you need more money, either make cuts in the government, stop the initiatives, or make the development companies pay for it. Don't squeeze us for more and more.
Hello. My name is Robin Pipkin Parker. I'm a homeowner occupant at 103 Ormond Drive in Red Bank. Conversation's gone differently tonight than I imagined it before I stepped in the door. So I have some written remarks because I want to keep to this, but what I hear a lot of people saying is that I think a lot of citizens wish that Red Bank still operated like a rural area, but we're a city. So I want to start by thanking all of the commissioners and the city manager for their thoughtful and thorough work on the new budget, for their transparency all throughout the process, for their efforts at informing and engaging the public on the matter, and for undertaking such a difficult task. It's no easy feat to assume leadership for a city that has been undermanaged for generations, and to take accountability for bringing it into the 21st century. This is highly commendable work you're doing. And it's a personal point of joy for me to be here to witness and support the good changes taking place in Red Bank that are a direct result of the work that all of you do. Due to the underfunded situation we are in Red Bank, as a city, as a result of prior administration's mismanagement, and also due to the trust you've established with us as our city's leaders, through the aforementioned efforts at transparency, engagement, and accountability, I support the proposed tax increase. I understand this increase brings us to where we need to be today. Again, because we're a city, and I would love for us to have more city-like things here, from a future-oriented standpoint, I would support further tax increases in order to get the public bus back going up and down Dayton Boulevard, free access to a regional library, curbside recycling, bike lanes, parks. So when these conversations come up again in the future, I'll be back again to express my support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Do we have any other attendees?
How y'all doing?
Hello.
Sam Blevins, 114 East Meadowbrook, Red Bank, Tennessee. I am only 28 years old. I'm a lot younger than a lot of other people who come through here, and I'll make it short and sweet because I think you've already made your decision. This is not okay. This is a terrible idea. There are a lot of people in this city that are older. They can't afford the increase. This is just not what you need to be doing. Personally, I have been around local government since I was, 14, 15 years old. I've seen this city through a lot of hard times. I've seen it through a lot of bad times. And I'm seeing it grow, and I like the growth. But I want us to do it responsibly. I want us to be doing this thing. I want us to grow, and I want us to get new people in here, but I don't want to be bleeding money, adding positions we really don't need to have, like the Office of Community Development. I don't know what that is. I understand the county of Hamilton County might have that because they're a larger municipality. We're 11,000 people. We're a small town. Y'all better do what you want to do. I understand that. I just wanted y'all to hear my comments. And I wanted y'all to know all the people out there that came out against this. They're standing outside. I've worked for the media. I've covered things like this here and in other cities. Other municipalities would have a community forum in a larger setting, like a high school or a community center. Why didn't we do that here? It would give people a cooler place to sit. It would give people an opportunity to let their voices be heard.
Yeah.
Just saying. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Good evening, Commission. Thank you all for serving on Red Bank's Commission. Fred Ferguson, 3426 Hartford Drive. I don't know what's been presented because unfortunately there's a bunch of people outside, and we don't hear everything. So if I'm repetitive about anything, I apologize. That brings me to my first point. I'm very disappointed with the arrangement of this meeting. I don't know if this was intentional or just poor planning. The mayor's not here tonight. Hi, Mayor, wherever you are.
She's in the hospital.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, and I hope she's okay. I did not know that.
She and her baby are okay.
Oh, okay, great. That's fantastic to know. Anyway, either way, it's a disservice to the citizens you represent, and I hope at the next meeting, which I think is in 2 weeks, we'll be better accommodated. And maybe at the Glasscock Center, I think it holds more. I don't know. I don't know the justification of the new paid positions that I've been made aware of, but I know with these salaries and the cost of one certain piece of equipment, that's the better part of $1 million, of which close to 300,000 will be a yearly cost, which will increase with raises, et cetera. I don't think this is sustainable for a city the size of Red Bank. I don't need to be entertained or taken care of by my local government, except for the normal function of government, which I think would be fire services, police services, and public works, which y'all do a fantastic job. I know there's some costs going up with all that. Everybody's costs have gone up. There's got to clearly be some increases. I understand that. But we're landlocked, and they don't make no more of it, okay? I believe I've already been getting what I need from my city. I'm not sure that, for the dollars that you're proposing, that I'll see the value of upgrading any services that I may need. I vote, I own property, and I'm a lifelong resident. And I'll round my figures, but a 60+% tax increase is quite excessive, in my opinion, in 2 years. This feels like Washington. It's come straight to Red Bank because what goes up in this case doesn't come down.
My name is Noel Haynes. I live on 200 Brentwood Drive in Red Bank, and I've been a resident for 38 years in Red Bank. And I just learned about this tax increase and just some of this stuff. I was paying attention to the last voting session, and I agree with the gentleman who was in here earlier that this just doesn't seem like it's something that just cropped up. And I'm concerned that nobody talked about this during the time that the votes were going on. And I also agree that I don't understand why all of a sudden we need a 51 or 54 or 60% tax increase, I don't see the value that this government's been giving us the last couple years that merits that. Somebody earlier talked about building and rebuilding sidewalks, and I've noticed that, and I'm not against upkeep, and I know that we're gonna have taxes going up, but this much, I just don't understand why it's like this. It just doesn't make sense. And the lack of you guys answering questions gives me concern that this government isn't really for the people, that you guys aren't working for us. But you remember that you work for us. You're our servants. And I've lived in this city a long time. And what I'm seeing happening gives me great concern and is driving me to do something that I normally don't do. But I'm going to start becoming active in politics in Red Bank because I'm concerned that we don't have the citizens' best interests at heart, the people who are running our government. So I just want to let you know that it's not making sense, the amount of money that you're asking for, and not even taking questions gives me serious concern that we're not getting a response from the people who are supposed to be working for us. So I just wanted to say my 2 cents worth. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. If you have questions, you can ask them and we can answer them when we get to the discussion around the agenda item. Mr. Price.
Jeff Price, 4507 McKay Hill Road. And I've been waiting outside a long time tonight, and I appreciate your patience for letting people speak. There's probably 3-4 times the amount of people outside that are inside. I know it's probably been said before with several different people. That's poor planning. That's just not right. I mean, we need to have a place where we can have a venue. And obviously, I think everybody knew there was going to be a crowd tonight. And having a lot of elderly people in the parking lot, not a good thing. It's not a good look. It's not a good look either. But at the end of the day, I sat through one of the planning meetings, and I understand everything on this list. You can't really argue whether it's good or bad. I mean, I think most of the stuff we want is good. It's just a matter of timing and when we spend it, how we spend it, and how we get to where we want to go. Because I think most people in this city, I want my city to be great. I want it to be a good city. I want to invest in the city. It's just that so many people can't bite off that chunk at one time. I think that our city manager said repeatedly during one of the sessions, I think he said it 3 times, that our Mr. Alexander is very, what was the word he used, conservative in his revenue projection. He said it like 3 times. I mean, repeatedly. And we sat here probably 6 months ago and we debated about the new positions. Oh, we've got plenty of money. We're good. Everything's fine. Everything's good. And then less than 6 months, we need 54% to run the government. It's hard to get your head around for many people. So all I'm suggesting is hopefully there's some compromise. Hopefully there's some discussion. I think it's great the way people are having discussion about it. It does bother me that people don't have an opportunity to hear. I mean, I can't hear very well anyway. The last time I was up here, I probably talked too loud because I have a hearing problem. But one thing for sure, you can't hear out there. You can't hear anything, even if it's impossible. And so I just don't think that's good. I think it's a bad thing. Hopefully in 2 weeks it'll be remedied, and everybody will be able to participate in a way that's fair, and people will be heard, and people can have a good discussion. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mark Michael, I live at 113 Brentwood Drive. I've been listening all evening, and I heard over and over again that it's not the right time for this. It's not the right time. I agree. This is not the right time for this. The right time was 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, 15 or 20 years ago. That was the right time. Unfortunately, we've had a pervasive culture of taxes are bad, so we find ourselves in a place now where the current commission has to deal with the mess, or rather take responsibility for their predecessors' indiscretion. Sure, taxes were kept low, the lowest in Hamilton County, but at what cost? Because it does cost something. As far as I can see, it's been a matter of infrastructure and services. I don't believe this serves our city well. I first came to Red Bank in 1999. I've been here a while, not as long as some people, but long enough to feel like this is my city too, as much as anybody else's. I love Red Bank. For the first time since I came here, I have full faith in our government. I think your proposed budget is the right thing. I think everything you've said so far. I'm proud of the fact, that you're following the rules of decorum, which wasn't always the case in this hall, that you're maintaining a sense of transparency, and that you're taking responsibility. It would be very easy to play a popularity contest. The easiest thing in the world is to say, well, we're not going to raise taxes. And boy, people would love you for that. But the thing is, a city runs on taxes. Communities run on taxes. That's how it is. Nobody likes to pay them. I don't like to pay them either, but it's the cost of living in a community. And we've been dodging that for a long time. So all this, and incidentally, I've heard 54%, 56%, numbers all over the place. Not that it matters, but it's 51.8%. I'm not sure why that's a hard number to remember, but that's what it is. And that sounds atrocious, but a percentage without the actual number you're talking about doesn't tell you anything. So far as I can see, the actual number we're talking about is $1.10. So 51.8% is what, 57 cents, I think. So, oh my God, it's 50%. No, it's 57 cents. It's not that great a burden. And it wouldn't have to be a burden all at once if prior commissioners had done the responsible thing. We could have done this in small steps over time. We're at a place where we really have no choice. As far as I see it, there's no more kicking the can down the road. I know that's been the modus operandi of the commission for decades, but I'm thankful to see that there's finally a commission that's not going to do that. So I support what you're doing. I support the budget. Thank you so much. And I'm very sorry for the slings and arrows you have to endure. I wouldn't do your job for all the money in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Michael.
I think that during this inflationary period.
Sir, you have to state your name and address for the record.
Okay, Jeff Morris, 212 East Euclid.
Thank
you. Okay, I think that during this inflationary period we're headed into, that these big increases and things like this are, while they may be called for, I think that just looking through this right here, there's a lot of things in here that I think are really uncalled for. I don't think we need some of these new directors that were put on here. I think we're doing pretty well without them. I think it's over the top. Start out, if you're going to hire these many people, start out, just ease into it. Don't just jump into it. I think it was wrong to hire these people without letting people know about it, for one thing. These tax base increases are what ran my wife and I out of North Chattanooga. That's why we came to Red Bank. North Chattanooga. That's why we came to Red Bank. The tax base over there went up something like $6,000 in 8 years. And we moved to Red Bank so we could retire. And I'm just afraid that we're beginning to see those same kinds of things here. And I really don't want to move again. We've invested quite a bit in the piece of property we own here. It was a bank foreclosure. It's everybody, we like our neighbors. We like living here. It's convenient, and it's actually more convenient than North Chattanooga. And I see why people want to call this the new North Chattanooga, but it's just, we need to be a little more careful, I think, in terms of how we move forward with all of these, the new things that are in this that weren't there before. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clifford McCabe, 2618 Berkeley Drive. I am Red Bank all my life. I'm totally against this kind of a raise, mainly because I think it'd be wasteful. I know we need things, have no problem with that. I'm not anti-tax, but I am anti-unreasonable tax. And this kind of increase is just too much at one time. Matter of fact, if you said 25 cents, I'd be all for it. If the caveat was with really squeeze. I'm used to squeezing a nickel into a dime. And I don't think with what you're proposing, that's being done at all. Unnecessary positions, unnecessary raises even. I'm sorry, they make a whole lot more than I do. Never seen one of your people. You know, I'm a poor boy. Because I'm still working. I've never made any money. I'm gonna work till perhaps 73 years old. Because I never made any money. So for you to do this kind of thing, not that I can't afford it. I admit I could pay $5,000 a year and not blink. That doesn't make it right for those that really can't. And I don't know, the openness or the transparency, the forum needs to be large enough. And I don't know if it's legal, if you can do it a referendum, but certainly you could do an informal referendum and see where people stand. Justify what you want to do. If you justify it, I'll go for it. But I don't think you can. I didn't get to get a copy of the actual breakdown, but I've seen some things that I know is not good. What I've seen. And I was a treasurer for a church for 20-something years. I know how to squeeze a nickel. You need to learn it too.
Thank you, Mr. McDade.
Hello, I'm Jerry Gross. I live on 3912 Robbinsdale Lane. And, I haven't heard everything that's been said, but I probably agree with most, if not all of it. But, I'm against your tax raise, and it's 54%. Just too much one time. But there's other things I've heard that I don't agree with some of the things, the directions you're taking us there. I've always thought of Red Bank as a kind of a quiet place, oasis, so to speak, among the city. I always know when I go out of town on vacation and stuff, get back in Red Bank, I'm always thrilled to be back home. I feel safe again, peaceful. We have a good police department. We have low crime. We have just a nice place to live. And I really don't want to see it become like a lot of other cities have and start drawing people in just for people's sake. But would be more for you. You guys could do something in Red Bank that would raise our revenue instead of just, doing this, let it all depend upon that residents to take care of the money. So I beg you, please don't destroy Red Bank.
Thank you, Mr. Price.
Good evening. Larry Stewart, 504 Paragon Drive. Lived here 16 years, my second home here in Red Bank, and we love it here. And it's been great. But I'm not happy about what's going on right now. I wouldn't even know about this except I think, there's my neighbor that told me about it. And so I heard what's going on. I'm surprised maybe you aren't hearing what's going on. I would love to see you outside, seeing what's outside in the sentiment of what's going on, because I think you're tone deaf. Now, I could be wrong. And I'm not well informed, but I think that property taxes are based on property values. And I know I can't ask you a question about that. Property values have gone up. That means revenue has gone up. So something else been going up has been.
Assessed value goes up. He does. It's true. If your assessed value
She
goes
can't,
up,
she
you
can't
get more
ask the question. She can't.
I'm just telling
If
you.
you would like me to answer your question, take up some of your time, I will.
No, I'll make a comment and then we'll see if we have time. But everybody in here, by the way, I want to say thank you for the police department, the fire department, and the public works. There is none better, and I love living in Red Bank because of it. And I've been generally happy with you all, but things are not going so well right now. We all live in a budget, and we're having inflation. I know you're having inflation too. I'm a retiree. Social Security gave me, 8.7%. And property taxes going up, the 50+% that you're talking about seems tone deaf. And I just want to express my opinion about that. And I'll also and I haven't paid much attention to politics, but I'm going to start paying attention now. And I want to know who votes in favor of this, because I hope that with the people listening and the people outside, you're going to find yourself in your final term here. And I know that you're serving the interests the best you can, but please listen to the tone of what's being said today. This is out of proportion. Stick to what your mandates are. If you hire other people, you got to pay for it. If you can't pay for it, don't hire other people. We're not looking for an expansion of services. Maintain what we have and keep our community like it is. I'll yield my 38 seconds to you to answer the question, because I'm interested in learning.
Just to let you know that just because your property value increases doesn't mean there's an automatic tax increase that's associated with that. That would come to our board to make that decision.
So did you, when property values went up last year, did you lower the tax rate?
In 2021, when there was a reappraisal year, we raised the tax rate from the equalization rate 11 cents.
Okay, so that's an increase on top of the property value increase, which is the most property value increase we've seen in a long time. And the next one's going to happen too. So the tax per minute, per dollar actually matters. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, sir.
Carol Guess, 3406 Hartford Drive. I'm glad that I have this opportunity to talk to y'all. I think that there seems to be a desire to grow a much bigger government that I think we need in our community. I don't think that we need bigger administration, more programs, more expenditures, more. I do think that that's takes us in a direction of a bigger government, and I don't envision that as the way I would like my community to be. I do think that the 52% increase in property tax is excessive. When there was an increase 2 years ago, when there's the next assessment, everyone's going to get an increase anyway. And I think that evidently we're spending more money than we have. And now it seems to me that everybody's scrambling to find some more money from somewhere. And it seems to me like that maybe there have been loans taken out, which I think is a mistake, that there have been grants that have been earmarked for this, that, or the other. And I think that it is a fiscally irresponsible way to run our community. And I would strongly recommend that you pare down the plan, pare down the expenditures, pare down the expanse of what of your wish list. I don't think it's in the best interest of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else who wishes to make a comment in the public hearing before we close it?
Okay. I'm Darlene, 501 Carolina Road. My concern, which has already been brought up through this evening, is basically the lack of communication. I truly believe if this had been handled in more of a, spoken up manner, instead of it being kind of like hush hush, and then it was put out, which I have not read this, but it was put out, I think, by you on Chattanooga, that nobody in Red Bank was against the tax increase, and I could be wrong in that. But that was told to me, and I was like, but we didn't even know about it. And the thing that I would suggest is in this pamphlet that we received tonight, coming in the door, okay, Martin was gracious enough to send me a copy of this when I came to the May 16th meeting. I had never seen this, nothing about this. hadn't heard about this, but I just knew I'd heard rumors about there was gonna be a tax increase. So I came to the May 16th meeting, sat here, Martin presented a wonderful PowerPoint presentation. In that presentation, he said, currently, we are basically future, okay? So I get this and I look over it and I'm like, man, like this is dated May 2nd and it was sent to all of y'all. My question was, this had to have been discussed prior to him doing such a good job with going to all the different departments, finding out what their needs were, finding out what they were suggesting that they did need. Some things that, you know, maybe a want, I don't have a clue. But all I know is when he was able to put all of this information together, which I'm understanding was at y'all's request to know where we stood in the city of Red Bank, that even in this letter, in the very last paragraph, he says, with the arrival of both a planner and a park manager, we will begin efforts to achieve the commission goal to create a Red Bank library and civic center. Okay? That's in black and white. But when I read that, I'm like, okay, even in this budget that everybody's wanting us to vote on, even in this budget, I saw nothing that said, but guess what, people? This budget that you're fixing to approve or disapprove or whatever, the civic center, the library, none of that is factored in as far as expense. So that to me is also another red flag of what are we doing? Like we're putting out something that we could possibly down the road take that property, use it, but we're going to use it, but how are we going to pay for that? How are we going to maintain it? How are we going to manage it? Who's going to be over that? Is that going to be an extra job? Like all those things have to be discussed. And in the very bottom, it says this budget estimate proposes a collective agreement
Ma'am,
on goals.
that timer was your
Okay.
time.
Well, if everybody will just read that third page, they'll see what I'm talking about.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for your time.
I think there was, yeah, someone else.
My name is Linda Creamer, 2901 Easton Avenue, and I just learned of this today. So I was very shocked, and I agree with most of what everybody said, that I find it a little overwhelming and a little unthought out. And my plea is to consider people like myself that live on a fixed income, that you have taxes going up other places, you have insurance going up, property taxes going up, groceries going up, gas going up. It makes it very hard on a limited fixed income. So my plea is to please consider those people too when you're making your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Do we have any more comments before I close out the public hearing? Okay.
Kathy Campbell, 2017 Linden Avenue. I just want to say, well, I want to commend the police department, the fire department, and public works. They're great. They've always been great. I've lived here 30 years. But I live alone. I'm on Social Security. The last couple of years, my property, when I moved here, my property tax was $300. Last year, my property tax went up $300. And if you put this tax in, it'll go up over $500 more a year. So I don't agree with this. And I agree with what some of the other people have said about we didn't need all these extra employees to do all these jobs that are unnecessary. You can always get volunteers to do things like libraries and civic centers. Red Bank is more like a family retirement community. We don't need to turn it into a rental community. The houses on my street, the people who have died or sold and moved elsewhere, they've all been bought by out-of-towners who have put them up for rent for exorbitant amounts of money. And the people that rent don't care. So I hate to see Red Bank turn into what y'all are trying to turn it into. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more comments? Okay.
Hi, Laurie Haynes, 200 Brentwood Drive. I just want to say, don't agree. I love Red Bank. I've lived here 38 years, and I don't agree with what's happening. I don't like it. I have been so pleased with the police department, with the services that Red Bank has offered. It's amazing. All of the brush pickup, just everything is amazing already. And I don't see what this is going to improve. So, I also don't like how much things are being leased, built and then planned to be leased. I want more people to buy because I am a homeowner. So that's important to me. Thank you.
Do we have any other comments before I close the public hearing? Okay, public hearing is now closed. We will continue on with our next order of business. We have no unfinished business, so we will move directly into new business. The first item under new business is resolution number 23-1575. A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee, reappointing Sonia Millard and William Cannon to the Red Bank Board of Floodplain Review. Director Tate.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. This resolution to reappoint Sonia Millard and William Cannon to the Red Bank Board of Floodplain Review is a requirement of our city ordinance to provide floodplain appeals and management of any floodplain issues that come up. These members, Mr. Cannon and Ms. Millard, have both previously served on this board, and they've expressed their interest to continue doing so. On your approval, they will be reappointed to this three-person board of the city.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Phillips. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey. Any further discussion? Any comments from the residents present? All right. If there are no more comments, let's go ahead and call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. All right. Resolution number 23-1576, a resolution authorizing the City of Red Bank to participate in the United States Department of Justice Office of Justice Programs Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant. Chief Seymour.
Hey, good evening. So this is a grant we apply for every 2 years. It basically offsets the cost of our body armor that we order for our police officers, those that are expiring and those that are for new hires that we have to buy. So these are vests that we have to buy anyway, which are budgeted for, but this helps offset part of those costs. And so this is just for us to apply for that grant.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll
Motion by Commissioner Wilkinson. Do I have a second?
No, second.
Seconded by Commissioner Phillips. Any further discussion?
Is it from the state? Is that a grant, a state grant?
No, ma'am, this is federal.
Okay, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from the residents present?
Great stuff.
If there are no more comments, let's go ahead and call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Resolution number 23-1578, a resolution adopting an amendment to the City of Red Bank's legal holiday schedule to include June 19th, Juneteenth as a legal holiday prior to the approval of the new employee manual currently in the process of revision. City Reporter Perry.
I'm sorry, again, I don't have the date in front of me, but Juneteenth is now federally and state observed holiday, so.
June 19th.
No, I mean, when it was passed.
Oh, I see.
So we are just, coming along with what the state is doing and adding it to our holidays.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Motion by Commissioner Wilkinson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey. Any further discussion? Any comments from the residents present? If there are no more comments, let's go ahead and call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Resolution number 23-1579, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee, authorizing a contract with Truckers Lighthouse Incorporated in the amount of $39,292 for the equipment and installation of emergency and other police equipment. Chief Seymour.
This was a bid that went out to equip our 4 vehicles that we were purchasing this current fiscal year. Where there was 2 bidders. This was the low bid. And this vendor has been known doing police equipment and, for a number of years, 25 years.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Motion by Commissioner Phillips. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wilkinson. Any further discussion?
Yeah, is this some of that money that we're wasting?
This is,
I mean, I'm just saying, this is the stuff that we gotta pay for in our cars,
sounds,
right? This
yeah,
is-
half of
this is-
it we'll be having to pay for from, general fund. We only get,
Outfitting.
oh, I'm sorry, it's from the loan, the debt service payment. Is that correct?
Right, this is figured in part of the debt services for the total cost of the cars and the equipment.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any comments from the residents present? Please step forward and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, Emily Akins, 1830 Ashmore Avenue. Yeah, that's right. I just moved, so I'm still learning the new one. So I did want to say I heard a lot about earlier in the meeting about supporting our public works, police, firefighters. This is how we support them. We give them money to do their job. That's all.
Thank you. Any further comments? If there are no more comments, let's go ahead and call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Resolution number 23-1580, a resolution of the City of Red Bank Board of Commissioners authorizing an application to the Tennessee Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities for the Inclusive Facility Grant in an amount of up to $500,000 with no match requirement if awarded. Deputy Director Johnson.
Thank you. As I discussed earlier in your work session, this is what is identified as a competitive grant, but it does not have matching fund requirements with it. It is an opportunity that we were just recently made aware of. It was opened up at the end of May. It has a deadline of the end of June, and it has a projected grant starting date in September if we are awarded. Again, there is no match requirement. What we are proposing in the grant application would be for improvements at White Oak, looking at the opportunity to expand upon the footprint that we have there now, but it definitely would help get the feedback from the community as far as inclusive opportunities for park patrons at White Oak.
And I would like to reiterate Commissioner Fairbank Harvey's comment about it being intergenerational.
Correct, yes, absolutely. I think a lot of times we get hung up thinking when we target some of our inclusive grants, we make the assumption that it is just for children. This does include adults that may be suffering with disabilities or intellectual limitations. So the goal of this is to look at that on a broad scope. Is who and how all do we get inclusive activity in our parks?
Absolutely. This is wonderful. Thank you for making the time in all of all of the other things that you're doing simultaneously to apply for this grant. That's quite a hefty sum that we could potentially qualify for.
Absolutely. And again, with that short window of time for it to have been released and then for a final submittal date, again, it just requires the poise and ability to be able to prepare a grant and get one submitted.
That's right. So that we don't have to use taxpayer dollars to pay for it.
Correct.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion from the board? Any comments from the residents present? There are no more questions. Oh, I'm sorry. You'll have to come, you can step up to the podium and you can ask a question. And give your name and
Kathy Campbell, 2017 Linden Avenue.
Thank you.
And did I hear correctly, this is for White Oak Park?
That's right.
Okay, that was all I needed to know.
All right, any other comments from the residents? If there are no more comments, let's go ahead and call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And now we have arrived at ordinance number 23-1. I'm sorry.
Was there a motion made?
You are correct. There was not a motion made. Thank you. My first time chairing, I had to make a mistake. Do I have a motion?
I will move.
A motion by Commissioner Wilkinson. Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
By Commissioner Wilkinson. Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
By Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey. Thank you. And now we'll call the vote again. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Perry. And now we are at ordinance number 23-1236, an ordinance of the city of Red Bank, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and tax rate of 1.67 for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2024, first reading.
Yes, we are presenting a proposed budget of $9,773,647. To fully fund that amount, it'll require a $1.67 tax increase, or tax, which is a 52-cent tax increase from now.
57?
57, yes.
57-cent increase.
Increase, yeah,
Thank
from $1.10, sorry about that.
Okay. Thank you, Director Rothman. Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Vice Mayor and Commissioners. This proposed budget addresses all 5 commission goals, responds to inflation not seen in decades, sets pay and compensation at a competitive level in an era of historic low unemployment and intense competition for talent locally, responds to department directors' needs for resources in all 3 departments, police, fire, and public works, which in turn are focused on providing the services the public requires. This proposed budget sets the stage for the future of Red Bank with robust citywide planning efforts, including a comprehensive plan, parks needs assessment, and perhaps most importantly, a small area plan for the former Red Bank Middle School site. These planning efforts will ensure broad community engagement, the development and vetting of options, and a public process to ultimately identify and pursue the outcomes the community selects. This proposed budget reflects the mission of the City of Red Bank to be a safe and thriving small town community, and our vision of a vibrant and inclusive community by pursuing excellence, enhancing safety, and preserving our neighborhood character. The executive leadership team of the city, assembled with me here this evening, have carefully developed this budget, and we ask the Commission to approve the services, resources, and outcomes it envisions. Thank you, Vice Mayor, and thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Motion by Commissioner Phillips. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Wilkinson. And now is the time for our board to have discussion about this item. So is there anyone who would like to begin?
Yeah, I think, Commissioner Phillips put it pretty succinctly earlier. I know a lot of folks maybe have not heard it, but this is the funding that we need as a city to get caught up. I mean, we've been kicking the can down the road for too long, and I think a resident put it nicely and said the buck stops here. So it's not popular, and
Yeah,
it's uncomfortable.
I do not want a 52% or 51.8, whatever it is, % increase either. However, I also know that from listening to our department heads, that he's short men, he's short 2 men, and you're short probably about 4, and we're gonna get you one, and you one. And we're gonna give them about a 7% COLA increase, which I don't think is out of line. And as far as the whole, but being a secret, this happens every June. I mean, this is not something that just pops up everything. We have a budget every June. And the last time we was here, there was more than 13, 15 empty seats out here that nobody showed up for. And the last commission meeting we had about 15 people in here too, and I see most of them in here also. So it's one of those things of, and you know, biting off $24 a month on average, I just don't see as that big of a deal. And, but the transparency, I don't think there's anybody been more transparent than we have. We have YouTube. It used to be you just read the minutes of the meeting. You know, it was on a piece of paper and it was in your packet, and that's what we got. Everything's on YouTube. You can watch it all on YouTube. You can watch the budgetary hearings. You can watch him presenting the budget to us, all of that. So I just have a hard time with all of that such. So, but I am in support of this budget. I think it'll catch us up. It'll put us where we need to be. And and I will tell you this, if you don't like me, run against me, I'll let you have it. All right? Because I'm up here making the decisions that nobody else wants to make, and I'll have the guts to do it. So there it is there.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Fleming, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I can't support it because of too many voices and concerns. The enormity of the amount, even someone that had mentioned that they were in support of it, but possibly incrementally rather than 51% or the amount 57, possibly a incremental, a smaller amount this year, pace it for next year, and maybe because of the 5 new positions last year, cut short hiring police and fire. So it's a balance that a lot feel is imbalanced.
And if I may, I think the last time we did raise it, we went up 10%, I think, on our last one. And I was one of those that says, well, we can do this again the next year. Well, the thing is, next year never gets here. It's always next year. It's always a bad time. There's never a good time to raise taxes. Yeah, our public works have got inflation just like your household does. When they go to buy something at the whatnot, it's more, just like it is at my house. You know, and I don't see how we can say we love our firemen and we love our police and we love our public work, but we want to balance the budget on your backs. And I don't think that's right either.
So I'll have one more thought. All the department heads shared some communication with us that is publicly available that I would encourage everybody to read. It outlines what they're asking for, the high points of the budget, and I feel like a lot of the residents have not read this.
We didn't get it.
It's available online.
We don't,
A lot of people are.
we don't do all
All
that.
right.
That's the reality.
Sorry, hey, guys, you can't be calling out comments from the audience. If you have a question or a comment, there will be an opportunity for you to come back up to the podium before we vote, okay? Thank you. I'm sorry,
So-
Commissioner Wilkinson, continue.
Anyways, I would encourage everybody to take a look. There is a lot of valuable information in here. You'll put into context what exactly is being asked for, and I think you'll find that everything in here is reasonable. So, thank you.
I have a lot of comments. I'm want to try to, I echo everything that my fellow commissioners here have spoken today. Earlier, when Commissioner Phillips talked during his commissioner's report, I thought he, was really eloquent and point out all of the ways in which, we've really had to make up for decades of neglect of our city and underinvestment of our city. We have people who come here today who said, well, I'm against this, but I haven't read it. That's very unfortunate. I think, I personally wouldn't get up and make a comment about something unless I know what I'm making a comment about.
Well, I do it all the time.
This is a big conversation, and it is a lot of information, and I understand that. like Commissioner Phillips said, this does come around every June, and it starts in May. And that is required by our charter. Our charter dictates that our city manager presents us with a budget estimate by May, the first meeting in May. Is that correct, Mr. Branham? Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
And that was done. And that is the way it's been done every year since we were chartered in 1955. Nothing has changed about that. You can expect this to happen every year. And every year, there is always going to be the potential for a conversation around a tax increase. Unfortunately, for many, many years and decades of our city's history, our previous city commissions and leadership chose not to do that incrementally. In fact, at times, and you all can, I made a video about this, if anybody there is nobody more transparent than our current government, and I am doing my best to amplify that on my own social media pages. You don't have to like me to get the information that I'm putting out there. This is information that are actual tax documents from our finance officer that you can also request through public record requests. We're just asking to email it to you. He will do that. Where we had years back in the 80s where they lowered the tax rate and lost revenue. This is what our city has been doing. This is what our departments have been having to deal with for decades, scrimping by on pennies. And when they're here asking us for these things that they have been asking for or wanting to ask for decades, they know it's because we are here to listen to them. This is not about us and what we want. This isn't what I want to budget. I don't know what we need to budget. It's their job to tell us that. And they have. And when you sit there and you say that you support our police, oh, they're so great, and our public works and our fire department, everybody's so great, but we don't want to pay you and we don't want to invest in you. You don't actually believe that. You don't get to get quality services from our community and not invest in that. And that is what we are doing. And yeah, Mr. Michael, who came up here earlier, he said it well. I don't know exactly what he said, but he said something about, we could do the nice thing and not raise taxes. That sounds nice, right? That sounds good. Hey, reelect me, I didn't raise taxes. But is it the right thing to do for our city? Is it the right thing to do for these guys who are sitting right in front of us? When you say you don't support this, you're saying it to them. You're saying it to them right there. That you don't support what they're telling you that we need, that they need, I'm sorry. Because we're not asking for these things. They are. So if you don't want to support our fire department and our police department and our public works department, then you can keep saying you're against this. You can keep saying that you're against investing in them. That's what it comes down to. And that's fine. I'm not okay with that. And the people who elected me were not okay with that. The people that re-elected Mayor Barry in the fall were not okay with that. The people that elected Commissioner Wilkinson in the fall were not okay with that. And Commissioner Phillips 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, it was kind of a dark horse.
we were elected to do what's right for our city.
Yeah.
And it is a very difficult position to be in. I've emailed many people about this. This is not something I want to do. We are not excited about raising taxes 57 cents. It's a big number and we all recognize that. But when you break down the numbers and for instance, Ms. Campbell, I looked your address up, your assessed value, your monthly payment is only going up. I'm sorry. I have a calculator. Your monthly payment is only going up $18 a month. Total of
I don't pay anything monthly.
Oh, it's $216 additional for the year. So, and then when you look at that, when you compare that to what you're paying for your Hamilton County taxes, which is the larger portion of your tax bill, your overall tax bill is only going to go up 14.4%, you particularly. On average, the people in Red Bank, residents in Red Bank, their monthly cost, if they pay into a mortgage escrow payment, is going to be $20 to $25 a month. Their overall tax bill, even though the Red Bank portion is going up 51.8%, the overall tax bill is only going up 14 to 16% on average. because you pay for that bill with your county taxes as well as your sanitation fee and your stormwater fee. And it's all lumped together. So I think there's also that, where there's a lot of people that have gotten scared and heard 54% or whatever the percentage was, my tax is going up that amount. It's not your overall tax bill that's going up. So if you pay $2,000 right now, you're not going to be paying another $1,200 at the end of the year. You're going to be paying 51.8% more of your red bank portion, which right now is only a third of your tax bill. So there's a lot of confusion around that. And as far as, like, I just have to echo what Commissioner Phillips said, as far as transparency, this is posted on the front of City Hall. This is put out in the newspaper and the Times Free Press. So even if you're not online, you get it in the paper. And it's on our website. You can access it there. This is the most information people, I believe, have ever had accessible to them at one time in our community, just because of digital, advances in digital technology and communication. So even though it's complicated and complex, it's out there. Our staff members spent, I don't know how long, putting together Q&A documents. I put this information out there. Our city government, Ms. Sheldon put it out there on our Facebook page, that these documents are out there. The Q&A documents are out there. Why is this line item higher than last year? Here's why. They poured hours and hours into this. And I think, people just don't know that. And they don't also understand how governmental budgeting works. It doesn't work on a cash in, cash out basis. We do have to take out loans and we have to finance things. That's how it's done. Mr. Alexander took how many, hours of courses to get certified as a municipal finance officer? A lot. It's not the same as budgeting for your household, correct? That's right. And it's something I don't understand. That's why we have this gentleman here to help us with that. Sorry, I'm not trying to, that's all I have to say. But, I've just been really disappointed in hearing how vitriolic people have been and how I don't think that they realize that it's not directed at us. It's directed at them right there, sitting at that table and that table.
Well, if I say also too, there's been a lot of things about politics and all of that stuff. We're not politicians. We're your neighbors. All right. Probably me and Stephanie disagree on our political spectrum a lot more than I disagree with Ms. Fairbanks. Really, we never do get to talk too much. But well, I mean, he got elected. We can't talk no more. Pretty much. That's the way this works. So, but though we're not politicians. We're not up here. But I can also have enough sense to know when I agree with something, when I don't agree with something. And I can tell you what, I've had private meetings with Martin, and he had a tough sell because I come in hot too, but he had to explain his things, that what he had going on, run his department there, and it was kind of like, does it seem excessive to me? I'm not the chair.
But you asked your questions and we got documents and summaries and Q&A, responses from our staff to help us and to help educate the public, which was, is very much appreciated. I just want to say that. Thank you all. Mr. Branham, did you have any comments or anything you wanted to respond to? Mr. Branham, did you have any comments or anything you wanted to respond to or answer any questions that you've heard?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I will.
There will be a time for comments before we vote.
I will add that staff and me especially acknowledge the magnitude of the ask. It is a big bill. It is a big ask. But what's expected of the city every day is the services that the community needs right then. They don't want to talk to me about services they're going to need next year. They talk to me about services they need tonight when they're sleeping in their house. I'd like to just briefly touch on the nature of fire and how the community and the nature of fire itself has changed just to characterize the dynamic nature of the world we live in. If you go back 30 years ago, houses were filled with natural materials. They were filled with wood and cotton, and they burned very, very slowly. And you would have an opportunity for a volunteer-based fire department to sound an alarm, and neighbors would come and put out the fire. That is absolutely not our reality in the city of Red Bank right now. Our houses are filled with content that burns almost instantaneously. The interior temperatures of houses reaches flashover temperatures in seconds. The nature of fire in our homes is completely different than it was, and our staffing has not changed in that same 30 years. We had 4 firefighters when Chief Seiler joined the department at the beginning of his career. We had 4 firefighters on duty at night. We have 4 firefighters on duty tonight. And the nature of fire has changed by several orders of magnitude in that time frame. So also has the nature of volunteerism. We don't have the luxury of sounding an alarm and having a neighbor show up to volunteer. Our volunteer base is valued and very important, and it's a critical component of our department and will always be that. But they just aren't able to respond in the moment to fight a fire. The way we fight a fire is with the firefighters we have on duty when the alarm goes off, and that typically is paid firefighters on duty. This budget request takes us from 4 to 5, and that is a 25% increase in funds. And what that 5th person does is a game changer. If you have 2 firefighters entering the building, you have to have 2 ready to go, all suited up, ready to go. The 5th person is a game changer. All the support tasks that have to happen on scene at first response can now happen because we have a 5th firefighter. So I've drilled deeply into the nature of fire, but you can telegraph that change across all of our departments. In the police, we are understaffed relative to other departments. If you look at what's happening in our community, the bad guys are stopped when the law enforcement shows up and engages. So to me, I'm uncomfortable presiding as the chief executive over a city that intentionally understaffs our law enforcement capability. That's baking in risk. This budget is an honest conversation with the commission and with this community. Do we want to be adequately served by law enforcement professionals? We've seen it in our own home state. When people go on a rampage, they keep shooting until a law enforcement officer engages and ends it. Those values and those requirements are what really underpins the magnitude of this ask, and it is a huge ask. The need is tremendous. The expectations on the at the point of service delivery, and that's where staff lives. Every single member of Team Red Bank answers the phone, talks to customers, talks to patrons, talks to residents on an hourly basis, on a minute-by-minute basis. I want my trash, I want my brush today. I want response to my police call this evening when I place the call. I want the firefighters there when I need them, whenever that is. And so the immediacy is where we live as staff. And we know what the people really need when they need it. And that is baked into this budget. And of course, I love this process. It is an opportunity to have a discussion in public. To me, this is American government, local government at its finest. There's abundant transparency, there's honest conversation, there's real discussion of the needs and the merits. And from a staff standpoint, we are making an ask that is fully baked, and it is up to the commission how they see it. And however the commission decides, myself speaking on behalf of all the staff, we will get busy and execute in accordance with the commission's vision. Thank you, Vice Mayor, and thank you, commissioners. I appreciate your service.
Thank you, Mr. Grant.
And I'm sorry we couldn't fit everybody in here today, but we don't have a facility to fit that many people, I don't think, do we?
No, we don't.
Do we have a facility that would handle another 100 people?
Well, I really didn't know how many were going to show up, so I made the decision to keep us in this venue this evening because I felt like it would be, people might view it as a bait and switch if we moved to another venue at the last minute. That was my decision.
Okay.
And it's open for debate whether it was a good one or not, but I did make that decision.
And we're required, tell me how far in advance we're required to publicly notice these meetings. When there's a public hearing, it's
15 days for a public hearing.
okay. So it's
15 days for a public hearing.
okay. So it was publicly noticed more, except you noticed it well before that. It was noticed well before the 2-week requirement. because we already knew what dates we were gonna be having these meetings on. So once it's been publicly noticed though, which the second meeting has been publicly noticed, is that correct? June 20th?
Yes.
It has already been publicly noticed. Can we change the venue?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Carey. So that's a conversation that we can have for potentially the next month, or the next vote. Okay,
Well, yeah, my point is that, you know, we have never invested in a place that handled 250 people.
correct.
Right, and then they get mad at us because we're having a meeting in the city's thing, so, I mean, this is where we're at, you know, I mean.
About 3 people showed up to look at the
Yeah, so.
Yes, so, yeah, and I would say there have been times when I expected there'd be a lot more people in attendance and there were 5 people. So, it's just kind of hard to know exactly how many people are gonna show up, but we can definitely talk about moving the venue for the second vote. Does anybody else have any other comments before we allow further comments from the audience?
My final parting thought is that through the whole process, I've been impressed by the stewardship of the resources of our city staff. I just have a huge amount of respect for the work that they do, and just want to thank you guys. I appreciate that.
And I would encourage folks in the audience to look at all of these documents, like Commissioner Wilkinson said, the budget itself, as well as the summaries and the Q&A documents ahead of the next meeting, and come in, because we vote twice on this. Tonight is not the final vote, the first and only vote. Come in prepared to tell us what you want us to cut, if that's what you want. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. There's a couple of these funds that are, as they call them, standalones, that folks might not recognize that that's not in the general. So there's the impound and the drug and educating.
The specific enterprise funds that fund themselves are the solid waste fund, where you pay your sanitation fee every year of $192, and the stormwater fund, which currently is, I think, $40. Okay. At the flat rate. So those are self-sustaining. Those fees pay for those, the staff members in those departments, and their salaries. Okay, if there's no further discussion from us, I'll open it up to the audience. If there are any further comments to be made before we vote, please come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record. The same guidelines apply as Mr. Granum stated before.
Carol Gass, 3406 Hartford Drive. The budget you're about to vote on is the 51% tax increase. A budget that has increased 51% from last year. It can't be all police and firefighters. The scope of this budget to increase the city budget by 51% in 1 year, who does that? I mean, you've got businesses everywhere. Nobody does that. That is an exorbitant increase in the budget, which then forces everybody's backs against the wall. And what we were talking about earlier about doing things in smaller steps and trimming the fat and finding a way to make, if you're going to increase a budget, I just can't imagine increasing a budget 51%. That just, it baffles me.
If I may, our budget went up 15%.
She said that the budget you're voting on is going from 110 to 167.
On the property tax.
No, you said the budget is going up then.
Tax rate.
Tax rate.
Are we voting on the budget or the tax? Are you voting on the budget or the tax rate? So how much did the budget go up?
Well, according to my calculation, John, you might check my math, but if I take the part over the whole right there, at least 15%. From what we budgeted last year to what we budgeted this year. we got a 15% increase overall on the budget. And to do that, because we only have we got one spigot. We can't raise sales tax. We can't raise any other taxes around here. We don't have a hotel motel tax. And
But
we
you
do,
can
we don't
trim
have
the
one.
budget.
Pardon?
You can trim the increase is my recommendation.
Well,
Trim
okay.
the increase. If you're going to, the tax, proposal is to cover an increase in expenditures.
Mhm.
So why do we want to spend so much money? That's my point.
So we can add a cop, we can add a firefighter, and we can add somebody on the bridge.
I don't think it's just firefighters and,
Well,
police.
all right.
Mr. Alexander, are you trying to figure
Work
out
my
that,
phone, yes.
okay, thank you. If you could let us know that number, I would appreciate it. Hello.
I'm Tally Glover. I own property 3500 Dayton Boulevard. I'm Tally, J-L-O-Y. I wasn't gonna make a comment, but I served the city for 37 years. I was a firefighter for this city for 37 years, and I've seen all the push it away from us, push it away from us. Times we thought we were gonna get things, and then all of a sudden, people say, we don't want our taxes raised, so the commission wouldn't raise taxes. I always felt like because they were afraid they weren't gonna get voted back in. So, the fire department, I can only speak for the fire department and the police department. I think the police department deserves more too, because they don't make enough money either. But they're finally raising the firefighters up to a salary that a firefighter can afford to raise his family on and not have to work a part-time job. I went through a time, I was a Chattanooga firefighter for 30 years. So, when I retired from there, I changed my status part-time here for 34 years. 34 years, and I became a full-time employee for 4 years. So anyway, long story short, I didn't make very much money when I came here. When I left Chattanooga, I took a major pay cut. Right after I came to work here, they lost 6 firefighters because they went to work for Chattanooga because they made so much more money. And then when you look at the salaries, you look at it and say, well, firefighters make a lot of money, but once you get past firefighter, you go into officers, and the officers didn't make any money. I mean, we really didn't make much money. So the thing is I came in here last week totally against this tax increase, totally against it. But now I've kind of changed my mind, and I think it's a good thing. Finally recognize the employees that, that they're finally going to get a pay raise that matters. So that's just all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your service to our community.
Abby Swartz, 4810 Stag. I just wanted to express some severe disappointment for the amount of people that were here earlier and all fired up, and then they left, and they didn't get to hear the conversation from our commissioners. And my guess is, since we have a problem with technology, that nobody's going to watch that live stream. Nobody's going to hear the conversation about it, and they're not going to hear the fact that I'm disappointed, especially the people that said, I'm not into politics, but I'm going to be now. Is anyone here that said that? Did they stay for that conversation? And that, I just hope that there are some voices here that can share the conversation that we've had on this part of the meeting. So I hope that we can share that. Thank you.
Well, the first time it was presented to me, I was not for it either.
Yeah.
Jackie Louise,
I know, good luck, whatever. And I would just like to take just a moment just to share kind of on the voices of everybody else also, that a little bit of my disappointment, because I feel that a lot of people, yes, came in here today saying how much they love the police and the fire department, and absolutely. As a former educator, I always felt like I was on that slighted end of the paycheck also for the service that I did for my entire career. But never ever Did I ever get that big of a paycheck once and all? Does this have to be rectified? Absolutely. And that is what I heard from many of those people that came in. Not all, some were a little, but the majority that came in said, yes, we love our police. Yes, we love our fire. And yes, we're okay with a tax increase, just not a big whopping one. Let's do it incrementally. Absolutely. I mean, I went through, I looked at the question and answer. I saw the, I might call it wrong, but the protective gear from the firefighters wanting what, 2, they're good for 10 years. I go, why can't we do 2 a year versus everything now? Because guess what's going to happen in 10 years? We're going to need them all over again. The computers for the 24 cop cars, and I'm thinking it was 24, it might be 25. Again, can we buy, I don't know, 6, 8 each year for 3 years out? Okay. And, then he said, I believe they said they're good for a 5-year lifespan. Great. Throw them out at 5 years. I think unfortunately, I think the fire took them over at that point, which I think they should get new ones too. But again, my whole point is instead of just doing it in one fell swoop and making enemies, can we not be a little bit more open to hearing both sides of the story and finding a middle road compromise?
Yes.
That's all I think the majority of the people were asking. We do have those few on both ends of the spectrum, but I think at least what I heard, the majority are just wanting compromise.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Branham and staff, this was not the original version of the budget, correct? There were other things talked about that your department heads had wanted to ask for this year. So this is a whittled down version already. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And that included some staffing positions, some equipment.
Yes, ma'am. In particular, I mentioned understaffing in the case of our law enforcement level of staffing. The chief actually wanted to add 3, and this budget adds 1 and funds a second one with grant money.
Okay.
In the case of the fire, we have 15 full-time firefighters in the Red Bank Fire Department, and we fill out the rest of our staffing requirements with a mix of, we have a large part-time pool and we have volunteers. And so the chief's original proposal was to grow the additional staffing of a firefighter around the clock, 24/7, 365, via hiring permanent staff. And that was a big bill. And so because of our situation in the larger Chattanooga metropolitan area where there's other fire agencies around, we have the ability through a part-time pool to onboard and meet that requirement in this particular instance to go from 4 firefighters to 5 firefighters around the clock. We can do that by expanding our part-time pool. And that allows us to add a firefighter around the clock at a pretty serious premium discount.
Mm-hmm.
We're not paying retirement, we're really getting a bargain. So this budget proposal capitalizes on our ability to expand that part-time pool. And there's a lot of reasons why that part-time pool works so well for us. We are surrounded by several other departments. We have a volunteer department on the north, and we have a paid department on the south. And both of those departments have firefighters that are looking for part-time opportunities. And Red Bank in the middle is that sweet spot. And to the chief's credit, he has done a fantastic job as our fire chief of building this pool of highly qualified part-time firefighters that meet Red Bank's needs for professional firefighters at a very discounted price to the city. We won't be able to, go for forever by simply expanding the part-time pool. At some point in the future, not now, if the city wants to add still more firefighting capacity, for example, if we get more high rises or we get more institutions. People often forget that we have major institutions that Red Bank Fire responds to. Erlanger Hospital, both schools. We are about to have our first high-rise by building official standards, development on the south end of town. These present complex fire response scenarios, and so our firefighters have to be ready for those institutional needs, as well as the more common residential home fires that we see on a weekly basis. And so those are some of the dynamics that went into skinnying down, surprisingly enough, what is still baked into this very significant budget ask. And of course, across Public Works, there was a significant need for more, and we trimmed it down. Across the general fund budget, there is only one FTE being added. The other FTE are being added in enterprise-funded parts of the city, so they don't, what that really means is they don't impact the property taxes. If you look at service delivery, we realized that in the previous decades, the city had not appropriately staffed against the enterprise-funded activity, and I'm talking specifically about stormwater and sanitation, solid waste. And so whenever those minimally staffed enterprises experienced an unplanned absence, somebody called in sick, basically, or went on vacation, they borrowed from the general funded part of the public workshop, which is typically our road crew. So our road crew was the go-to filler of holes in scheduled route pickup on sanitation and required maintenance on the stormwater. This budget fixes that. This budget appropriately staffs those enterprise-funded endeavors so that they can take care of their own business without borrowing almost on a daily basis from the general funded colleagues that are all housed within the Public Works Department. So there's a lot of integrity about how we're paying for this and who is doing the work internal to the Public Works Department that's baked into that. All of that behind the scenes calculations went into this very specific general fund ask that is driving the 57 cent property tax conversation that we're having. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Granum. And also this is, we got lucky with some ARPA funds, right? Getting some of those to help with things like our crumbling Public Works garage and facility. Again, when we look, I had somebody send me an email and say, why do you have a facility manager, a new facility manager? Your facilities are terrible. Exactly. That's exactly right. 100% correct. And that person, that I'm just bringing that up as a comment that just blew my mind, because this staff position is already budgeted for. It's just they're transferring his title to a new title in a new department. So that's not a newly funded position. But just that kind of thinking is just mind-boggling to me. I mean, I got a lot of emails with similar comments, and it's clear to me that that people, and I understand it's so hard to pay attention and to stay engaged when you're just trying to work and raise your family. I have an 8-year-old son that I haven't seen in hours, and so I understand it's difficult to get away from those things, but it's very disheartening when we are out here busting our butts, all of us are, to try to share this information and be transparent and engage people. I mean, I have tried everything I can possibly think of to get more people to show up to these meetings, and they just don't show up. And I
found the solution to that.
Yeah. We'll just, talk about tax rate every meeting. No, I mean, seriously, like, I get it. I do understand it, but it's disheartening to hear people come in who haven't been engaged. They don't know what's going on in our city. They don't know what the needs are, what we're constantly having to work to do and cut and scrimp around. And it's just not right, and it hasn't been right for decades. I appreciated Mr. Bubba getting up here and talking about what he had seen for decades as a firefighter, seeing commissions defer, kick the can down the road. I don't want to do that anymore, because I don't want my son and other generations that come after him to have to deal with the failures of us. We're fixing that. That's what we are doing today. We are righting the wrongs of the past. And I know it sounds big, but when you look at the numbers, I promise you, it's $20 to $25 a month. And it is hard for some people, and we do understand that. And that's why we talked about the property tax relief program earlier today, and we will share that information with the public 100%. And if there were any other ways that we could help people, if we could pass policies on rent control, we would, but guess what? The state legislature has made it illegal for local government to do that. I would love to do that. I don't want our renters to be priced out of our community because there are people that are at all levels that need to have access to all kinds of housing options, and we can't do anything about it. That's the other thing. We don't control what happens on private property and commercial development. We don't have any control over a business that somebody owns or an old building that somebody owns in a commercial district that they're just letting sit dilapidated. We can't do anything about that. That is private property, and I wish that we could. We're trying.
So we don't.
We're trying our best with what we have, with what we can do, with how around where the state has tied our hands, to be quite honest with you. So I hope that you all will genuinely try to be more engaged. We would love to have you here. We would love to have all of you be here every time we have a meeting. So with that being said, are there any further comments from the audience?
Because the meetings are not this long.
That is correct.
So it won't take that much time.
Kathy Lynn, 401 Crystal Street.
We'll get her salary.
And I am one of the guilty ones that did not read this until I got it. I have been going through some family situations and I have not been engaged the past couple of months. I admit it. But you know what? I know when the budget season is. I know it's in May. I've been to the Hamilton County Courthouse and I had to stand outside the doors because I wanted to come in, but it was so full I couldn't go in. That happens. That's a good thing. Come to more meetings. Find out what's going on. It helps. This is hard. It's a hard pill for me to swallow. But you know what? It's worth it because you all have said where all the money is going.
Amen.
It's transparent.
Yes.
It's very well done. And I agree. It's going to be hard for me, but I think it's worth it to improve our community, make our community safe. We're a growing community. Some people said they don't want to grow. I'm excited to be here. I like all the stuff that's going on, and I applaud you all for being forthright and asking for the things that you need. That's kind of hard to do, isn't it? Because people don't like to hear it. So I thank you all for your hard work and for presenting this. I know it's not easy. I do want to say one thing before the buzzer goes off. It was really hard sitting in the audience and listening to all the negativity. If we could just be more respectful towards each other. We're not always going to agree. Never. But let's not say disparaging comments about each other because we are a community and we have to all get along. So let's try a little bit harder to accept and respect each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lynn.
I just want to ask one question.
Okay,
Can I ask a question?
come on over, please.
4421. And I don't know the answer to this, but typically, having worked in business, and the things that you guys say are the same things that happen to us, by the way. Everybody in business right now is doing the same thing. You know, we're working way too many hours because we don't have people. So this is across the board. I know what you guys feel, and I feel the same way. And it's just the way it is. But what I would ask, and I don't know, instead of it just being like, here, tell me what you need, I think in any business, you are always given, okay, you got up to this much percentage. Nobody is given a blank check. So I would ask if you didn't, and maybe you did, to say in the future, we're looking at 15%. We can't burden up taxpayers anymore than that, and give them that number to work with, as opposed to saying, let's go out, tell us what you need, and then ends up being 54%. The other thing I'm a little disappointed in, because it's going to happen back to you guys, is kind of blaming your predecessors and blaming your predecessors. That's disappointing to me. Whether it's true or not true, I just wouldn't do it. I just think that's just the way of the world today, is to blame everybody else as opposed to taking accountability. I see it too often. I just think it's, take accountability. So thank you, though, for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Oliver. Mr. Graham, I believe you have a statement to read before we take our vote.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This is a.
I'm sorry, was there someone else who wanted to make a comment? Okay, please step up to the podium.
Okay, first off, Darlene Wyndham, 501 Fairground Drive. First off, I wanted to apologize to you because I didn't mean to scream out a while ago. But now let me just tell you, I've been in Red Bank for 36, almost 37 years. I'm the one that you'll see on the side of Appian Way with Food City garbage bags picking up trash. I go down Dayton Boulevard and get out and pick up trash. And it's because I love this man right here. I've known him for years. I truly believe they do a great work in the Public Works Department. I'll go down to Lashman Road and jump in the ditch and pick up trash because I know they're fixing to come through and mow. Makes sense to get the trash up first before you mow and cut it into 15 pieces. That's the kind of person I am. The main thing that I'm concerned about is I understand y'all are younger. I'm not sure how old you are. I'm sure you're probably around my age. But you got to look at a bigger picture. There are a lot of people in Red Bank, and my mom being one of them, they don't own a computer. They can afford a computer. Back when computers came out and there were laptops, my mom was like, I don't even know what that is, and I don't have one, and I don't want one. And I'm like, okay, Mom, that's okay. I've got a computer that everybody makes fun of me. It is from 2007. It still works. I still get it as good as I can, and sometimes the screen ain't exactly like it's supposed to be. But not everybody can afford an iPad, a laptop, an updated computer every year, because every time you turn around and sneeze, they're got more stuff supposed to be added on it and all that. I've got a whole group of older people at Frudenberg Lane that are nothing but older. They're 75, 80 years old and older. None of them have a computer. So they call me. I have a lady that lives in my subdivision, does not have a computer. She made a statement to me. Hey, Darlene, like, I don't know what the deal is, but they're not coming through and picking up trash anymore. Not trash, I'm sorry, excuse me, brush. I said, oh, well, let me check on that. I found out by calling the city hall that it's now where you have to go on the computer and punch in the, whatever you call it, citizens portal or whatever, and then punch in your order and all this. And I'm like, oh my word, like she ain't got a computer. She ain't got no way to do this. So I said, look, I'm gonna take a long shot at it. I'm gonna call. I'm gonna leave a message and just hope and pray to God they come down here in the cul-de-sac and they pick up your brush. Sure enough, they did. But that's the reality in Red Bank. Not everybody's your age. Not everybody's your age. You've got people that have lived here for years, longer than me, and they have invested in this community. They have paid taxes into this community. And for them to kind of be like, well, forget you. You either get you a computer or you figure out how to get on the bandwagon. And I'm sure they would have no problem if you wanted to personally go buy them a computer, take it to their house and have them help them set it up and learn how to use it and all that. But most people are not willing to do that. Most people don't have the financial resources to go and spend $250, $300, $400 for a laptop to take it to somebody's house that doesn't have one. So that's my concern, is that we're kind of overlooking that group of people. And I don't mind. Like I told my neighbor, I said, look, I don't mind calling and putting in orders for you if I need to, even as old as my computer is. I finally figured out where the little citizens portal thing is on the top. So I've been wearing it out because everybody around me, like I said, are older people. They don't own a computer. They don't even have a cell phone. They still have landlines. That's the kind of community you've got with 11,000 or 12,000 people in it, okay? My only other concern is on the budget list where White Oak Park was discussed. This sheet came out where it showed we were needing $234,000 for that park. I go over there, I walk the track, I go up to Stringer's Ridge, I look at the pavilions, and I'm like, I don't understand that, but when I looked at the budget, it looks like that money is gonna be a loan. Like it's not even actually in the physical budget. So that means somehow we're gonna have a loan payment coming out in the budget to be able to pay for that loan, to be able to update that facility. So that's the best I can do. And thank y'all for the job that you do.
Thank you, ma'am. And that the loan payment is already included in the budget.
It's a smoother, and it's spread out over years.
It's spread out over several years, Mr. Alexander, thank you. Over 5 years, is that right?
That's fine, yeah, well, one's gonna be cash, the first one is, because it takes so long to set up the loan, and then 4 years of amortization.
Okay, and that's already included into this budget figure.
Am I to understand that the citizen cannot violate 771103 to talk to somebody?
Yes.
You can talk to somebody. Yes.
Can you get your breath picked up?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
You can still call in and you don't have to use it for it.
That's right.
If you can use the web portal, it's faster and better, but you can still call in and leave a voicemail if nobody picks it up, or speak to a person.
Okay,
No request is refused.
okay, thank you.
Kathy Campbell, 20171 Linden Avenue. I do have a lot of respect for our police and fire department and our public works. And we could have taken the money that you hired these extra positions for and gotten another police officer and given them nice raises. But instead, we hire people we don't need. And I agree with her about the computers. I don't do computers. I don't even have a TV you pay for. I have a little antenna in my windows. So how am I going to know what you've posted? You need to have a mailing list and send this out to people, or have a place where they can pick it up. Because like she said, probably a good 30% of Red Bank doesn't do computers or YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you. They can pick it up at City Hall.
But they don't know that.
It's been that way for decades. I would assume that they could go to City Hall at any time. And that's the truth of, if you want any kind of records, you can call City Hall and ask for, do a public records request. The staff that we hired, one of whom was Miss Johnson, she doesn't have to speak for herself. I'll speak for her. She was needed. She is needed. And Greg needed her. And I'm sorry, Director Tate needed her. And Chief Seymour needed an IT employee, so he didn't have to do that alongside protecting our community and keeping our community safe. And Chief Seiler needed a fire training officer so that we could train our firefighters efficiently and effectively in-house, because we lost that when Ms. Giesling passed away. And so these positions were needed by our department heads. These weren't positions that we just pulled out of thin air and said, we're going to add these. These fell within the needs of each of our departments. And so I will take umbrage on behalf of Ms. Johnson that she isn't necessary. She is extremely necessary. She took a pay cut to come here from her other government position. And she has been knocking it out of the park, and anybody who's been paying attention would know that.
Yeah, it's hard to see those needles move.
It is.
It really,
A
unless
lot of
you're in
this
the
stuff
day-to-day.
is happening behind the scenes, but it's happening, and then you see it when we vote on something, because she has worked her butt off on a grant for $500,000 that we don't have to match. That's the work that someone like Deputy Director Johnson is doing, and the other folks that we've hired that are helping take burdens off of our department directors, because they were all wearing multiple hats, and that's what the city of Red Bank has done for years. Before Mr. Grantham started, we had our city manager who was also, he's the full-time city manager, he was the public works director, and he was the building inspector, all in one. How can one person do 3 full-time jobs? Well, that was unreasonable to ask that of him.
You have to because of the budget presented.
But that was the expectation of years and years of leadership. And you can say that we shouldn't. I'm not blaming. It's the facts. These are facts, and you can look at historical documents and see that these are facts. These were decisions that were made by previous leaders, and that's why we are where we are today. Mr. Grantham, if you would read the statement that you have prepared, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Have been given to read.
Yes, ma'am. Pardon me for a second. I received this communication from Mayor Holly Berry. The mayor sends her regrets that since she is unable to attend tonight's meeting in person, state law prohibits her from casting a formal vote. In light of this fact, She asked me to share this prepared statement regarding the budget prior to the vote, and she has been listening online and texting with me throughout the proceedings this evening. Quote, I would like to express my continuing support for the budget as it has been prepared and presented by staff. I would like it stated for the record that if I were able to attend in person and vote tonight, I would be proud to vote in support of this year's budget that meets the critical needs of each city department, keeps our employees whole, and actively pursues our unanimously adopted commission goals. Thank you. Unquote.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Graham. And in case anyone missed it, she is in the hospital with pregnancy complications, so please send out some good vibes and prayers for her. We have a motion on the table by Commissioner Phillips. We have a second by Commissioner Wilkinson. Ms. Perry, will you please go ahead and call the vote?
Okay. Mayor Barry is absent. Vice Mayor Dalton.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. Commissioner Jamie Fairbanks Harvey.
No.
Commissioner Pete Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Hayes Wilkinson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Perry. Ordinance number 231237, this is our final item on the agenda, an ordinance of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee to amend the fiscal year 2023 operating budget beginning July 1, 2022 and ending June 30, 2023 in order to appropriate unbudgeted expenditures and grant funding in the amount of $650,048. First reading.
Yes, ma'am. This is what we do at the end of each year. We go through each fund, making sure that they have plenty of appropriations. The State Street Aid one's a little bit different. This is one of the funds that helps the taxpayer. It takes the heat off the general fund by taking the 20% of a TDOT grant that normally was going to be taken out of the general fund is now being taken out of State Street Aid because it fits, it's allowable. And the other one that's getting amended is solid waste. They're within their budget right now, but the amount that's left is, I want to make sure it's sustainable through when we get our final bills for this particular year, which is as late as August. So that's, just a cautionary measure.
That you're appropriating some general fund balance.
No, there's nothing to do with general fund. I'm talking,
I'm
this is,
sorry,
they
the
have their
solid
own
waste
fund balance.
fund.
Yeah, fund balance.
Okay,
To just cover it, so we won't get doinked by the auditors.
okay, thank you.
Okay, well,
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
And motion to approve by Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wilkinson. Any further discussion? Any comments from the residents present? There are no more comments. Ms. Perry, will you please call the vote?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Barry is absent. Vice Mayor Dalton.
Yes.
Commissioner Jamie Fairbanks Harvey.
Yes.
Commissioner Pete Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Hayes Wilkinson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. And now we have come to the time in our agenda for citizen comments for items that have not been on the agenda tonight. Mr. Brandon.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This is the time for citizen comments for items not on the agenda. Please observe these rules for citizen comments. Citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, and the city recorder will operate the timer visible on the dais. Please respect her direction and conclude any comments if time expires. All citizen comments should be addressed to the commission as a whole, the city staff, or the audience. If members of the public have questions, staff will be glad to address them after the meeting or at another time. The purpose of citizen comment as an agenda item is to enable citizens to share their views with the entire board, not to initiate a back and forth.
For items not on the agenda. Please step up and state your name and address for the record.
It's Emily Akins, 1830 Ashmore. I've learned it now. I know we're all ready to go, so I'll make it quick. Thank you guys so much for being here and doing what you do. I've seen a lot of people say that you're lining your pockets. You're not. You guys get paid what, like a $200 stipend quarterly?
A month.
Okay, a month.
So yeah, you guys are making the big bucks up there. So I know you guys are missing out on things. I know you're missing out on memorial services and you're missing out on your babies. And, you know, you guys are up here, first and third Tuesdays of every month, plus the budget workshops, plus all the other work you do and all the training you do. I know, Jamie, you have attended a bunch of is it like municipal, oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to, sorry.
Other meetings.
You've learned a lot, right? Attended a lot of professional development, doing ride-alongs. That's above and beyond. That's fantastic. I just wanted to thank you guys so much for basically volunteering all this work you do and all the education you've done, all the learning you've done, and all the leadership you've put forth. You guys do not get a lot out of this. You do it just because you love your town. You do it because you like living here. You want it to be a good place for your families and for generations to come. You're not trying to, you're not trying to make all the money in the world. That's just not what you're trying to do. So I appreciate you guys, like all the sacrifice you guys have done throughout this process and just the rest of the year. The staff too. I know you guys put in so much work. And it's crazy, and I know it's got to be so nerve-wracking, like asking for money and it being like up in the air, like people who pay attention once a year coming in and telling you how to run a city when they don't pay attention the rest of the year. So anyway, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for paying her salary.
All right, if there are no other citizen comments on items not on the agenda. Okay, if there's, okay.
I have a question. That's Campbell 2017 am I correct in, that I've heard that we're the, what is it? Not Pruitt's.
Save Lot.
Save Lot, thank you. Used to be, you're going to allow apartments there?
Would you like us to respond?
Yes.
Okay, it just takes up your time.
That's fine.
Okay. Yes, we did vote to pass a rezoning request for Rice Partners that had already purchased that site and was in possession of it to build a 200+ unit apartment complex, which will bring in a significant amount of property tax revenue in the next 24 years.
Do you realize that right now that's across Dayton Boulevard from me. Do you realize that right now, when it rains hard, all of us, our toilets won't flush? Now, what are 200 and something more apartments going to do to that sewer system? I've called a plumber, and he told me there's nothing wrong with your plumbing. It's Red Bank.
If I may, ma'am, since I do sit on the WWTA board, if you will allow, that is the WWTA, that is not Red Bank. That's the wastewater treatment authority that we have here in Hamilton County. It is being worked on. In case you haven't seen all the streets being dug up, there's about $8 million being thrown in the ground right now. It's 5, 6, 7. So
what do you mean?
Those are the basins that they're working on.
The basins. It's 5, 6, and 7. It has been through Mike Patrick with the WWTA, the director over there, and he has approved that.
Over there around Linden and Ashmore and all that?
No, where the Save Lot property is, he put that in there. We've had no sanitary overflows in the last 6 months. That was not a blockage, and we're on track to have our moratorium removed from our city so that we can build here. So
you're saying, you're telling me that when they build those apartments, they're going to put a sewer system in there that will take care of all of their sewage, and it won't flow down on us like all the rest of it does.
I'm just telling you what the WWTA has approved that, and I can't tell you what they're going to do or how they're going to do it. I'm not an engineer, but all I do is sit on the board.
Well, what are we to do if this happens? Come to the meetings and tell y'all about it?
The utility, the
the
wastewater water
WWTA,
treatment authority vote is over that utility. We don't have any control or power over the sewer utility.
And we get
anymore.
the, we get the
Yeah, that
bill
was
for it.
several years ago, handed over to the county.
Okay.
And you get the bill.
Thank
You get the bill every month.
Yeah, I
So
know.
that's got contact info on it.
Okay, thanks.
And by the way, it's going up too. So,
It's really-
just letting you know.
It's sunshine today.
All right, so any further comments for items on the agenda? One more?
Yeah, I just have a question for my own clarification. Davis Getter, 4810 Stag Road. The Save a Lot Apartments, was that a special exceptions permit and not a rezoning?
That is correct. Thank you for
Okay,
clarifying that.
I just wanted to make sure. So by right, they could build apartments there with
Okay.
retail on the bottom floor. And they asked to not build the retail on the bottom floor, have the retail separate. And that's what y'all approved.
Yes, and thank you
Okay,
for
so-
clarifying that. That's
So that
correct.
it wasn't, in my mind, it wasn't collusion with the developer for anything. It was just a way to make sure that we're redeveloping and building our tax base. And that's what the developer had brought forward for us.
That's correct.
So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comments? Okay, Matt, do I have a motion to
I'll
adjourn?
move to adjourn.
Commissioner Phillips, motion, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Wilkinson, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Good job.